like a song. I'm brighter my day. Who'd have believed that you were part of a dream? Now it all seems like years away. You know I can't smile without you. I can't smile without you. I can't laugh, I can't sing. I'm finding it hard to do anything, and I feel sad when you're sad. I feel glad when you're glad. If you only knew what I'm going through, I just can't smile without you.
What's happening, people? Welcome back to the Scarfey Talks Premier League podcast. In this episode, we'll be reviewing Game Week 21 and what was a midweek game week, and then FA Cup action this weekend as we take a pause in Premier League football. There's been an awful lot recently, so that feels very strange. But we'll be talking about also those Premier League clubs in particular that are involved in the Emirates FA Cup third round, starting from tonight, going on till Monday, where Liverpool end with Barnsley. To join me, I've got a five-star panel, as always, to discuss what should be a lot of fun. I mean, Game Week 21 as a whole, lots of goals, lots of action, and lots of surprises. And being the January window as well, of course, a lot goes on there in terms of managers coming and going and players coming and going as well. Cam, thank you very much for coming on. You're the Tottenham fan for tonight. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing well. Not too bad, thank you. I'm excited for these FA Cup games, to be honest. I think there's some good ties, to be honest. And yeah, I'm excited to be on it.
There are, absolutely. There's some that could, potentially be upsets, and there's quite a few Premier League clashes, more than I remember there was last year anyway. Cam, thank you for your time. Lewis, welcome back onto the podcast. West Ham fan again. That curse continues, doesn't it? Bringing you on after a defeat. I actually thought it was changing in the first half. That second goal goes in. I think it's a different story, but thanks for your time.
No, of course. And I can't say I'm worse than last week because nothing's changed since then. So it's all good on my side. So I'm looking forward to it.
Good stuff. Thank you. Always good to have you on. Ollie, thank you very much for coming on. Of course, you are founder of Simply AFCB, the Bournemouth fan page across social media. So talk to people a little bit about that, and thank you for your time.
Yeah, hi. So I run Simply AFCB on Twitter, and I do a lot of posts all about Bournemouth. I'm a student graphic designer as well, so I like to integrate a bit of both, hence why I made the page in the first place. But I do like just talking about Bournemouth a lot, so it ended up being a bit of both when it was originally meant to be a bit of more of a graphic design thing, but I just love talking about football, so it ended up just being a bit of a hybrid.
Yeah, good stuff. No, it's doing well, I see. So good stuff with that. Yeah, well done. And thank you for your time. So Tottenham fan, West Ham fan, and a Bournemouth fan, carefully selected deliberately this week after Game Week 21 action. Both ways, actually. Interesting stuff. All three clubs, definitely something to talk about there. But let's get straight into it. And Lewis, sorry to start, but it gets the worst bit out of the way. West Ham 1, Nottingham Forest 2. It was the first game. Lewis, this is your opportunity to rant and rave, say how you feel. What did you make of this one? It feels like fine margins costing you in this one, and it felt very, very cruel on West Ham and Nuno.
It's tough. It almost feels like a funeral for a friend, I'd say. I think this is the one where you can sit here and maybe say we're going down. It was one of those before the game. It was a true 6 pointer, the true definition of a 6 pointer. If we won, we would have been 3 points. We would have been 1 point within Forest. It's anyone's game. Instead, we're now 7 points away. The game itself, I thought we started well. And if you look at compared to the game against Wolves or something, it was chalk and cheese between the two. I mean, we were brilliant in terms of that sense. I actually, even though the result, I wouldn't call us brilliant, but I don't think we were bad. I think that the new signings had some fire to them, mainly Tati Castellanos. He had a bit of flair to him, something we've been missing. I wish we had him at the start of the season. I mean, the energy he's got, I haven't seen a player run like it since probably Fornals. But the game itself, it's a game of fine margins. I mean, 2 controversial goals for Forest. One of them was supposedly offside, but according to some law, it wasn't. And I'm not going to try and get into the technical aspect of it because I'm not too sure of it myself. And for the other one, Morgan Gibbs-White was offside for the penalty, which wasn't picked up. There's loads, and I mean, I saw Morgan Gibbs-White after the game talking about how the penalty for Areola's foul wounded him and that he was breathless and, he couldn't think straight. But they kept him on the pitch to take the penalty. So, I don't really know how the rules for head injuries work anymore. I thought you're forced to go off the pitch. This could be that goal could send us down. And in complete honesty, I think it has sent us down.
Appreciate your honesty. Lewis, sticking with you if you don't mind. I mean, it comes back to, of course, the whole thing with VAR. I think whether decisions are incorrect or not, and don't get me wrong, it's really important, especially if it isn't. But the point is, it's had a huge impact. I mean, I know that goals change football a lot. I just felt in this one, you get the second goal. I'm not going to say you're going to sit here and win 5-0. I think Forest were down and out. Maybe they put it back to 2-1. I probably reckon that, in my opinion, what do I know? But I think it would have ended 2-1 West Ham. I certainly do not think for any moment that you lose this game. I think you had control. Forest looked dangerous. I thought you had control and everything was okay. But the crowd tension, I think, you'll know a lot more again than I will. But it just felt that everything changed. Forest just used that as an opportunity to re-galvanise, go again, and come on, we're still in this game. Whereas heads dropped when that second goal went in. Literally, if you look at Sean Dyche, the bench reaction, they looked down and out. So how big of an impact? I mean, I think it's huge, but did that disallowed goal have?
The problem is after the game, we saw it. We saw the players' heads drop, and the biggest problem was looking after the game to find out that there was another section of play. The ball had taken a deflection, so Castellanos couldn't have been offside. It was not possible. And the goal was disallowed. And I think the biggest problem was that West Ham never been able to keep a lead. We don't keep leads. Even in comfortable positions, we've struggled. For example, if we look at the game against Aston Villa a few weeks back, where Aston Villa won 3-2, we were 2-1 up at half-time. Right? We look at the Brighton game, we were doing well. It's just we lose that yard when we're in the lead. We don't have any leaders to maintain the pace, and we just get nervous when we're winning. We don't know what to do when we're winning, and it's almost just seems it's inevitable at this point to concede when we're winning or in that position. I think it's costly, but Forest wanted it more than us. They wanted it more than us. Dyche wanted it more than us. The players wanted it more. They dug deeper. And we could have gone on and got a second. Even after the second one was disallowed, we could have got a real second, but we didn't. And I think Forest deserved to win.
Appreciate your honesty again with that one, Lewis. Thank you. You covered a lot there. It's interesting. Thank you. Let me know if you have anything to add as well in a minute. Thank you. Ollie, I'll come to you. Focusing on Nottingham Forest, key win for them. We know before that results took a turn for the worse and they're really struggling to get a result, struggling to put together a performance as well, if I'm honest. But this means they're now 7 points clear of safety. It's a healthy margin, isn't it, as we progress into January?
Yeah, I think it is. I think West Ham will probably looking to get a win there, and I think that's a bit of a make or break, as Lewis said, to be fair. I think for a Bournemouth fan's point of view, I was kind of hoping that Forest got the win there just to ensure that kind of gap. But I think for West Ham, it was definitely a make or break. And I think for Forest, they're probably, breathing a sigh of relief, to be honest, going on to the FA Cup break. And I think that might give them a bit of momentum to move forward. And I don't think it's really happened yet for them. And I know obviously they have Europe in the mix as well, which always, for lesser teams like, I guess Palace at the moment as well, they're struggling to handle Europe and the cup competitions and the Premier League as well. So I think that's obviously held Forest back a lot, but they do need a bit of momentum. I think they struggle with their confidence, so that will help massively for them going forward. And obviously January's here, signings to help them with their Europe push. So I think that will do them good, to be honest, and I think they can move forward from there.
Agree with you on that, Ollie. Thank you. Key win for Sean Dyche. You could see the reaction from the Forest players, and they realised the game was slipping. They turned it around to get a big result, and ultimately, when it was at 1-1, much better result for Nottingham Forest. I think deep down they would have taken that at the time. He said Sean Dyche's draw, would have gone, yeah, okay, fine. So to win the game for them is just it's utter heartbreak for West Ham, and it's jubilation for Forest and Sean Dyche. Cam, how did you view this game? Of course, you're on the pre-match podcast along with others. You made a prediction. For those who didn't see it, what was your prediction, and how close was it from being true?
Well, I said 2-0 Nottingham Forest, to be honest. I wasn't 100% confident on Nottingham Forest at the start, to be honest, because West Ham, they had a good first half. I think their new signings, especially Tatty, looked quite good, I think. But then West Ham, they scored that second goal, which obviously got disallowed. I think from there, Nottingham Forest got a lot more control in the game, and obviously they scored that corner. I think that was a really weird goal. I don't really know what happened there. I personally think if that wasn't Paqueta jumping for the ball, I think that would not have went in. But I think that game as well as the Wolves game, I think they were two really winnable games for West Ham. And I think now the gap between 17th and 18th, I think West Ham are honestly down now, to be honest.
Certainly got a lot of work to do. I mean, Lewis, we'll come to you, and we have spoken about it before, but in terms of the January window, you brought in 2 forwards, haven't you? But what else do you need to do? Because it's going to take a lot. You will know that, and you'll be honest, because you always are honest, that it's going to take a lot for you to even be competitive until the end. So what do you need in January to give you that fighting chance? Because I saw you were linked to Ethan Pinnock of Brentford. So also, what do you make of that?
Yeah, I think at this moment in time, the truth is I don't think it matters now who we get in. I think it's a harsh reality to say, but I don't think it really matters. I know a lot of people will sit here and maybe think there's 17 games left this season. There's 51 points to play for, and you need to cover a 7-point gap. Why can't you get that? Because within the last 17 matches, we've got 11 points, which sort of paint the picture as to how our season has been. It's much more than just a squad on the pitch. It's much more than the manager. It's the owners. It's the problem. It's a deteriorating fan base we've had for ages. We've had this for years. And there was a reason people thought we'd go down last year. And there was a reason people thought we'd go down the year before that as well. Everyone called us ludicrous. And now we're in the position where people say West Ham are too good to go down. But we're not good. We're far from good. We have about a championship level squad. And the signings we've made have simply not been good enough. I mean, I thought Tatty was quite good. I think Pablo's quite a big risk, given we need goals. And we bought him, apparently he was injured whilst we bought him, which doesn't really make much sense. We need defenders, and we need leaders. We don't have a leader. We lost all of our characters in the dressing room. Graham Potter stripped us from all of our assets. All of our leaders are, heritage players. We've had old players, our ex-players, players such as Kufau and Fornals, beg and speak to the media and say that West Ham need to make signings of leaders to have a chance. We're a side that's won 3 games out of 21 matches, and we are appalling, and we have to accept that. And it just doesn't surprise me at this point. I mean, you'd have to go to any player that we try to sign now and you say to them, look, realistically, if you sign for us, you're going to be in the Championship next year. And in the event that we'll stay up, you get this wage. And when we go down, you get this wage. And I think that's what our business plan has been. And given the players that we've been linked to recently, it sounds like we're preparing for the Championship. I mean, Ethan Pinnock, I think I would like him at the club. He's an older, more experienced player, brings some leadership. We've been looking at James Trafford. City said no, but they give us Ortega, apparently. We've been looking at him, and there's just a bunch of players, and you can see they're all younger, they're all inexperienced, and we're sending our youth players out on loan to come back to help us for the Championship. The owners have got it in the mindset that we'll be down next year, and we have to accept it and attempt to rebuild from it. I think we'll have a new manager. I don't know how long Nuno's got left on him. I think he's the man for the job, but it's tough to even say anything at this moment in time.
Difficult, I'm sure, but appreciate your honesty during what is a difficult period for West Ham. There's all good looking at it and laughing about it, but they find themselves a long way from where they want to be. But thank you for that. Next game, Bournemouth and Spurs. 5-goal thriller at the Vitality, with Bournemouth getting that narrow 3-2 win in stoppage time through Anselm Semenyo. Of course, we've got a Bournemouth and Spurs fan on, but Bournemouth won. So we'll come to you first, Ollie. What were your thoughts overall on the game? And it felt like a very fitting ending, didn't it, for Semenyo not only to have an impact on this game, but to get the winning goal to turn, what for you was going to be 1 point into 3, but to do it in what was close to the final kick of the game in stoppage time, it just couldn't have been a better ending, really, to the game and also to Semenyo's career at Bournemouth.
Yeah, it's proof there's script writers in the Premier League, I reckon. I think from the start, it was quite a disappointing start, but I think we've been quite used to that. In the previous 11 games, we've not been able to get a win at all. But it was amazing to see us get back into the game after going 1-0 down in quite a disappointing fashion, because I thought, as per usual, our defending has just been lacking completely. And in the reverse fixture, I thought we were amazing defensively. I'm sure you would have agreed at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But I just thought that was appalling to give away that first goal. But then we got back into it, and I thought our strike force was brilliant. Evan Nilsson was absolutely amazing to get that header, and Krupi, that was amazing to be in that position to score that goal. And if it was by half time, I was thinking that's brilliant. I thought that's it. Second half, I thought Tottenham completely dominated it. Obviously, there was that penalty shout. And actually, I'm quite surprised he didn't get booked for simulation there, because he got booked for dissent, I believe, instead of simulation. And I did think that if he was going to get booked for dissent, I don't know why he didn't get a red card for simulation as well, considering they didn't even give the penalty, because I guess he dived. I don't know. I was a little bit surprised by that, but I wasn't surprised to see the penalty not get given. And obviously, amazing finish after that by Palhinha. I watched it and I was like, oh my goodness, that's gone in. But again, defensively at a corner, not good enough again. The ball was bouncing for about 5 seconds and it gets finished, but great finish though. And yes, Semenyo at the end there, I thought his performance was a little bit average, to be honest, but he did have an amazing finish at the end there. But it was good to see him finish it off on a high. But obviously you could tell, he wasn't getting many balls over to him. I think he was trying to avoid any injuries, or to be honest, from the looks of it. But I was happy to see him get a goal, and I think that was the most important thing. And overall, I think in the end, a good performance. I would have taken a draw any day of the week, but a win's even better. So to come away with that with a win, pretty happy with that. I think Spurs were okay. But I think at the end of the day, I think a draw was probably the fairest option, but happy to come away with 3 points.
Okay, thank you very much. You're very honest in that, and put across a few things. So, I do appreciate that, and I totally agree with what you're saying as well. If I had to add my opinion on it, I thought that you're really good at home. Well, when we were at home, so you were away, you looked stronger defensively, and
Yeah,
still
definitely.
good going forward, but not quite as much. I think you look strong in attack, and the likes of Evan Nilsson. I mean, you'll know again better than me, but I've looked at him and thought you're not really consistent. You're not maybe hitting the heights you could or should. But in this game, I thought it was a real threat. Balls in the box. Some of it is, I think, we back off, etc. But you always felt like we could score against you. I felt like that before the game, and in particular as the game unfolded. So it wouldn't surprise me. I thought, Semenyo got that winner. I was like, this could, you never know, be another goal in it. Very unlikely. We just always felt like that. So did you think, before we move on, I'll ask you, Ollie, if you think you should make signings in January, so this window, or you should find a way to improve defensively, because it's great to rely on attack. You will know best form of a defense is attack, but you also do need to probably improve your defense a little bit. Maybe Tyler Adams coming back from injury, that could help a little bit. Just thinking out loud.
Yeah, I think we do need to make a couple of signings. I think potentially a centre back. Senesi will probably leave in the summer because I think he's rejected a contract. So to get a replacement now might be an option. Obviously we've got Milisavljevic has just come back from injury, because obviously he came on midweek, but he'd been out for couple of months actually. I think since November. So it's good to have him back. That will feel like a new signing for us, I reckon, having him back. But I think a midfielder. I know Andoni's press conference this morning. He said he wanted to look for a Semenyo replacement and a midfielder to replace the injuries. Obviously, we have Christie out and Tyler Adams, and we only have Cook and Lewis Scott in midfield. That's the only two midfielders. But I reckon try to replace one of them. Maybe a defensive midfielder, if anything. I think we need to replace Tyler Adams' injury. Because he's a key man of our squad, and I think he was key in the game at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium as well. Actually, I thought. But yeah, centre half. I think we're okay in attack, as you say. I think Evan Nilsson may be a bit inconsistent, but he is providing the goals at the moment, which is good. And obviously we have Krupi Anu now as well. It's just getting a winger, I think. I know we're looking at a few rumoured. But I haven't heard anything about a centre back, and I'm actually a little bit surprised because I think we need to get cover for them. We lost 2 in the summer, and we've got Diakate, which hasn't really delivered at the moment. Obviously Senesi halfway out the door already, and we got an 18-year-old, and James Hill as well, who's actually doing quite well actually. But I think we need a bit more cover.
Sorry to put you on the spot, but any names in particular? I mean, by all means, you can talk about any position, but like you mentioned, winger there, and you've been linked to some people. But for you, is anyone you want to see Bournemouth going for that can be the best suited to replace Semenyo? Of course, within reason.
Oh, I don't know actually. That's a great question. That. Yeah, I've heard about Fatawu from is that how you say his name, from Leicester?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
winger. I mean, he scored a cracking goal the other week. I know we've been rumoured with him, and actually, I wouldn't mind seeing him, but I don't know about what price they'd want him for, because I think he'd be quite expensive, and I don't know how much we're willing to spend because of the new PSR laws, and I know that affects us quite deeply because of our revenue significantly less. So I don't know how much we're willing to spend. But I think someone like him, someone quite direct. And yes, I would take Tell actually. Someone said that the other week. Yeah, I definitely would take him. I'd take him on loan. I mean, he scored a goal. He was actually brilliant, I thought. I'm actually surprised he isn't playing more for Tottenham. And that's actually another question. Why isn't he playing more for Tottenham?
Yeah, great
I'd take
question.
him.
I mean, yeah, 100%. I think you should be playing more, and in particular now with players out that we found out in the week. Bergwall's a doubt for the next game, Villa and the FA Cup, and Kudus is now out till March, April, so it's a good opportunity for Tell to play. With majority of our injuries being in attacking positions. I mean, Cam, what do you reckon to answer what Ollie said there? Tell, why isn't he up till now getting many minutes, and do you think he should and will get more now?
Well, honestly, if I could ask Thomas Frank, I really would, to be honest. I really don't know why he's not playing more, to be honest, because I do remember he was doing fairly good at the start of the season. Then he got dropped for like 5 or so games, and I'm thinking, like, why is he not playing? And even then, he wasn't coming off the bench either. I think Frank does favour Odebear, but I think with Kudus now out, I think Tell's definitely going to be used much more now. Yeah, I really don't know why he's not playing more, though. I mean, now that we've only got 2 fit wingers in Tell and Odebear, because Kudus got injured, Johnson's went to Palace. Yeah, I don't really know why he hasn't been playing, and I hope he doesn't go out on loan, to be honest. I really hope he doesn't, because I think he has a great future. I think the second half of the season could be really big for him. I think if he were to go out on loan, I think it'd actually be quite well at Bournemouth, to be honest. I mean, you've sold Semenyo now. I think he'd actually be at least for the short term, I think he'd be a solid replacement, to be honest.
Okay, thank you very much. Good question there, Ollie, and also in the chat from Jimmy. Thank you, and appreciate the answer, Cam. Cam, if I can stick with you to get your thoughts as a Spurs fan, because whatever way you want to look at it, let's not sugarcoat it, because it is another defeat, and that means more pressure on Thomas Frank. There's so many things I could ask you about it. Firstly, can I get your overall thoughts on the defeat and how we played? Because did we look better? I thought we looked better in parts.
You know what? Yeah, I don't even know what to say about it anymore. I mean, we don't even concede like that late on. Like, as much. We'll lose in any way possible. I can definitely tell you that. I think though, with Bournemouth's attack, I think Bournemouth's attack are actually quite good. And I think considering Frank is a defensive-minded manager, I don't know why we're conceding all these type of goals. We conceded 3 goals away to Forest. Now we've conceded 3 goals away to Bournemouth. I don't know what's going on, to be honest. I think even the goals we scored as well, I think that Tell goal, I think was obviously quite a good goal. The Plenia goal was obviously unreal. I think that came down to individual quality, though, to be honest. And I say that we don't have much of that, to be honest, but I think that only kind of kicks in really rarely. I think Romero away to Newcastle, bicycle kick, equaliser. Plenia in the Carabao Cup at home to Doncaster, bicycle kick again. It's just, I don't know. It's hard to describe as, every game we play, like as every game goes on, we just get worse. I feel like there's too much to say, to be honest. If we lose to West Ham United, I'm done. I can't lie. If we lose to West Ham, I am done because
I agree.
I think mainly because I know Bournemouth are a good side and all, but the narrative over winless in 11 games and then we come to your ground and you go and win, even if it was a beautiful strike from Semenyo, I think he's actually going to do quite well at City, to be fair. But I can just feel it now as well. I don't know who you've got next in the Premier League, but I just know that you're going to go lose your next game now and play nowhere near how you did against us. But there's too much to say, as you say, Harry. I think, there's so many negatives around the club. I'm not even talking about the manager right now. I'm talking about the owners. I'm talking about everything, bro. It's an absolute mess, isn't it? Absolute mess. I don't even know what to say anymore.
No, I think it's fair to say, but very Dr. Tottenham-like, isn't it? To lose to a side winless in 11 games, and starting to question why they're not winning games and spirited performances beforehand. It just felt like it was coming. Semenyo stubbed Tottenham, fair enough, the situation you're in. Apparently done it in a polite way, even better. But then he just felt, it felt too good to be true that we got to stoppage time and he had no impact on the game, really. Well, no big impact on the game at all, as Ollie was saying. But then, boom, to have that impact. But Cam,
I think, as already said, I think there's definitely script writers in the Premier League. There has to be.
Definitely.
There has to be.
Yeah, there's definitely got to be, isn't there? There's a couple of things I want to ask you about. So, firstly, is the Frank Cup incident that we had. So,
oh my days.
Crikey. So people don't know context. So Thomas Frank was pictured holding an Arsenal Cup at the Vitality, but the context is, of course, Arsenal were Bournemouth's previous opponents. I personally think he's set up, if I had to be honest, and very surprised that nobody noticed. I hope that himself and his coaching staff have better attention to detail when it comes to stuff on the football pitch. Otherwise, we will be going down with West Ham. Let me just say that. But what are your thoughts on the incident? Because, of course, as always, with anything with social media, it can often be blown out of proportion. Do you think it's getting the right attention? Is it getting too much attention? Because Frank was a little bit offended to be asked about it. And he was like, oh, obviously, I didn't know about that. He didn't even know when he's been asked about it. It's not like someone has said, by the way, you were holding this just to give you, I know you didn't know at the time, but now you know. He had absolutely no idea. It was new news to him.
Well, I think it's a really weird situation, to be honest, because I saw, obviously, the picture of him holding the cup, but I also saw, I think he was with his analyst team at the time, or he was with someone. And I also saw a picture of the analyst looking at the cup in absolute shock. I don't know if you saw, Harry, but
he looked starstruck, didn't he? Why didn't he say?
I saw that. I'm thinking, why have you not told him that there's an Arsenal badge on the cup? I thought he would have realised anyway. I mean, considering he's a manager that has good attention to detail, I thought he would have realised that there's his North London rivals badge on a cup that he is holding, whether Bournemouth played Arsenal beforehand or not. I think people definitely, I think they're definitely overreacting. I think personally, as you said, I also personally think he got stitched up by someone at Bournemouth. But I've been seeing it everywhere though, to be honest, and especially when we lost that game as well. I think, it just adds to the tension, doesn't it?
It does. And also, I've got to ask you about players that wanted to fight fans at the end. And no joke, Van der Ven going over and offering people in the car park. If you don't have to be a lip reader to know that's what he was saying, which is, of course, very interesting. And lots of players going over, some as peacemakers, some wanting to have words with a couple. And it just feels like this is happening more and more, doesn't it, Cam? That there's a growing divide between the fans and the stand. and the players on the pitch. And, we'll get on to Romero's statement in a bit, of attacking people at the club. But in terms of this, it doesn't look good. And then, as you know, Frank goes over, massive boos. But some players went over and clapped their away support after having a row with what seemed to be one individual that clearly said something that upset the whole Spurs squad, certainly the majority of that back line. But Van der Ven didn't clap anyone at all. And he was really the most affected by it. So how do you view that? Of course, it's not something we want to see, and it's not healthy at all.
Yeah, well, I think the away fans, considering these performances, are getting really hard done, because I think they're the most loyal, passionate part of the fan base. One, you can't lose them. I think Frank's already done that. He lost the home fans ages ago. But to go away like that, and you have your own players, and even I think Thomas Frank, I can't remember if he went over there or not, but there were players just going straight down the tunnel. I mean, you expect some claps, don't you? You don't expect, players fighting you, do you? I mean, I'm not too sure what one of the fans said, to be honest, but I did see Porro and Polinia there as well. I'm not too sure what they were doing. I did see Polinia speaking with someone. I'm not too sure what that was like. But I think it's just a whole mess at the moment. I mean, the fans are unhappy. The players are extremely unhappy. I think we can see that, to be honest. We don't, need to be a mastermind to see that. I think the whole club right now is just such a mess. It's just, there's too much going on. Oh man, it all comes from the owners, though. It does. It really does. It really does. I know that it might sound like I'm blaming them for no reason, but if you're a Tottenham fan, you'd know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. Honestly.
Cam, thank you again for your honesty. I've got a couple of very quick questions before we do move on. As you can tell, I got a lot and do feel strongly about the situation. So Romero's comments on Instagram. So he put something up really strong, as you would know, and then it was edited and watered down. He has, we'll talk about it later, but the fine and etc. That's from stuff it's separate. But he hasn't been punished. He's had a conversation with Thomas Frank and Johan Langer. And for people who didn't see it, maybe non-Spurs fans, it wasn't awful, but he said in that there's, continues to be a barrier and there are people that always tell lies. And it was a clear dig at the board and the owners. It started off really strong about telling lies, and his words were, they only ever come out when things are good. They hide when things don't go well. We shouldn't be the ones speaking. So it was really long from Christian Romero. The aim, I think, was clear behind it. It's the second time he's hit out at the owners and the hierarchy. He's, literally anti. And you never get that, really, a player taking to Instagram to voice their concern and try and, basically, have their really strong opinion on the hierarchy. So what did you make of this? I mean, I say it took me by surprise. It did, but it's not the first time it's happened.
Well, I think this just represents how unsettled everyone is at the club, especially Romero, considering he's the captain. But honestly, I think my respect for him has gone up even more, to come out publicly like that. I know that it's his second time, but, as wrong as, the club might take it, I think he's 100% right, to be honest. I mean, he's just speaking the truth for this, right? There were teammates supporting him in that post as well, by the way, so it wasn't just him. I'm pretty sure he's also out of the game tomorrow against Villa.
Yes, that's something separate.
I think that's
because he didn't. Well, because he got sent off. He got sent off, recently, and just refused to leave the pitch. So that's what that's about.
Okay. No, because I just saw on an aggregator page that he was unavailable. For tomorrow, so I was wondering,
he's been
what's
fined.
that all about?
It's a ban for a game and a fine for failing to leave the pitch. But just quickly to read it out for those that haven't seen it with Romero's statement, I believe this is the original one. Romero posted, I have to make this bigger, miles aren't as good as they used to be. Apologies to all those fans that follow us everywhere who are always there and will continue to be. We are responsible. There's no doubt about that. I'm the first, but this is what's interesting. But we keep facing up to it and trying to turn the situation around for ourselves and for the club. At times like this, it should be other people coming out to speak, but they don't, as it's been happening for several years at this club now. They only ever show up when things are going well. What's been edited, this is the edited one, actually. There was something about they always tell lies. That was edited because, it's a claim that the club will say, look, you can't prove that. And he goes on to express his support with the fans, so those that didn't see it. But Cam, I mean, I know I ask you every week. Thomas Frank, where do you stand on him right now going into Villa? Is that the decider?
Honestly, I don't think it is the decider, to be honest. I think the club are going to stay with him, to be honest. I don't think they have any. I mean, I'm just thinking about them. I'm just thinking about their point of view. I honestly don't think they're going to sack him. I think we could go out the FA Cup, we could go out the Champions League. We only have the league to play for, and they still won't sack him. I think he's going to be given the season.
Is that right though? Is that the right thing to do?
Well, I think as long as he gets backed, yeah, I think we should definitely be keeping him. But if you're not gonna back him, and then you're gonna give him the season and it's underwhelming, then you only have one person to really blame, because the whole idea of the January transfer window is to be strengthening. You know, I mean, as much as people say
Well, it got
it's a
worse
difficult
so far in the
window,
window. We've gone backwards.
yeah, I mean, we're losing players like flies, and we aren't bringing anyone in, are we? I mean, yeah, we're meant to be having, at this stage, whilst we aren't really doing that well, we should be bringing players. We should be bringing players in, and we brought in João Sousa from Santos. As much as I think that it's going to be a good sign for the future, I don't know how much of an impact he can really make in the first team right now, which is why I think we kind of need more proven first team signings, because right now I don't think we've even had any links to anyone, really anything like that. So yeah, I'm just hoping though ENIC can prove us wrong, prove the fans wrong and go out there and make a statement,
Fingers crossed. Thank you. Before we move on to the next game, which is Brentford's 3-0 win over Sunderland, just want to say thank you to all those that tuned in so far. We're just going to go through a couple of your questions now. There's a few comments in here. So the first one is for you, Lewis, that says, well, it's from a West Ham fan who says, what do you think Nuno, I should say, could do to make West Ham better? You voiced your thoughts of going down to the Championship and not a lot changing. So I get the impression that you're going to say there's not a lot he can do, but what do you think he actually can do to make the situation at least a little bit better and more competitive down the bottom?
Unless he can bring in a new stadium and a new set of owners, I don't really think there's much he can do. Is that we're a sinking ship, and the truth is I saw Harry Redknapp on Talk Sport, and he was saying the same thing of what our fans feel. You could put Pep in this side, and we're probably going to go down. The squad is very overhyped. I like to be optimistic and try and say that maybe if we have get some really good centre backs in, and some people Nuno wants a new goalkeeper, so if we're going off what he wants, if we get.
Hello? I think we're losing you a little bit there. I think, we can still hear you. Keep going.
Okay. It's David Sullivan. He doesn't want me to say the truth.
He doesn't, yeah.
He doesn't want me to say the truth. The truth is we need maybe 2 centre-backs and a goalkeeper, and that's what Nuno wants. And if that's what Nuno wants, then we should give it to him. And I personally, what I would love to do is, I think we're going to go down anyway. I would like us to, if we are to go down, I would like us to keep Nuno. And if he's a man of his word, he would bring us back up, and we could have this rebuild project with him. But I think to return to where we want to be, we need to go down. We need to go down to rebuild. And I think that's what we need to do. No,
appreciate your
there's
honesty.
nothing we can do.
No, simple answer, no. Lewis, thank you. Battle through that little technical issue there. So thank you very much. A few comments. Dan saying Van der Ven has not been happy with the fans for a while, then booing. Well, yes. And I read reports from big sources today saying that he will not renew. He's actually keen to get out of Tottenham this summer. So the club is definitely imploding behind the scenes. Make no mistake about that. Another Spurs fan says, ENIC out. Tottenham been regressing year by year. Sadly, fans living in the past. Couldn't agree more if I could say that. Goes on to say, football at Tottenham hasn't been the number one priority for years. Goodness me, this guy's got to be, got to be my burner crown at this rate. He says, we're too focused on NFL games or, yes, musicians playing at our stadium, unfortunately. Don't get me started at the F1 track underneath the stadium. Just quickly, you go to the Spurs, you go to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium app, right? That used to be the Spurs official app. It's now the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium app. Fine. You move from a club for some reason to the stadium. You have to go onto the third page to find anything about the football club. Bearing in mind, it's actually called the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. You find out more about F1, concerts, this, that, and the other load of things. I think it's something on Easter that beats Tottenham to it. So, honestly, things like that, I think, really. But, honestly, we could talk Tottenham all night, but we cannot do that. A lot to discuss. Brentford beat Sunderland 3-0 at the G-Tech Community Stadium. I mean, Lewis, we seem to be having this conversation every week at the moment. Brentford, high flying. It wasn't meant to be like this, was it? Surely, set piece coach in charge and Keith Andrews lost the majority of their coaching staff. I feel like I say the same every week, but it's so important to mention. Losing Norgard and Burmo Visser, and then to win a game like this against a side in Sunderland that have been really good since coming up. What did you make of this game?
I thought this game was an interesting one. I don't think the scoreline. I think the scoreline's fair, but I think it could have been very, very different with just a couple changes of events. For me, my main review is Sunderland were too kind on that night. They were far too kind to Brentford. Igor Thiago, one of the most threatening players in the Premier League at the moment, was given far too much space. If I was a manager, I'd be saying we need 2 men on him all the time. We need to mark him out of the game. Sunderland didn't put anyone on him. He was running. He was having those runs in behind, and that's how they got their goal. He got his goal, and for me as well, personally, I think the biggest changing point in the game was the penalty. It's got to be the biggest talking point. 1-0 down, you get your penalty, get you great back into the game, and the penalty, it's catching practice, isn't it, for Kelleher? It's really, really poor, and I think from that moment onwards, when the penalty was saved, the game was always Brentford's.
Agree with that 100%. Ollie, I mean, Igor Thiago's absolutely on fire. You could do with Evan Nilsson being in that kind of form, couldn't you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's doing well for my FPL. I know that much. It's weird as well, actually, because last season he had injuries pretty much all season. I don't think he actually. I don't know when he made his first start for Brentford, because I think he got injured before he made his debut. So he's definitely doing well, and yeah, I'm jealous of Brentford fans, actually, because they are doing incredibly well, and I think on Keith Andrews as well. There's no pressure on the guy at the start. There's no media pressure because everyone thought he wouldn't do very well, and here he is doing wonders. I know Brentford fans have said a couple of things about him not being very good in attacking sense and not being good scoring goals. But the game against us the other week beat us 4-1. I thought they were amazing attackingly. And it's the same again against Sunderland. They're just very good in attack now. I think they've worked it out. I think it's been a process for them, and they've worked it out. They've got Thiago scoring. They got that other lad scoring, the winger, and it hasn't seemed to matter the fact that they've lost their 2 key players last season, and credit to them, to be honest, because they've been sensational. Honestly, I'm jealous. I'm honestly jealous of how they're going at the moment. 5th, amazing.
Joe, I'm jealous as well, and I didn't think I'd be saying that. I've literally got Thomas Frank, and I'm jealous of his set piece coach. And we've taken half that. Literally, we've taken Brentford's tools. Really, I know we haven't taken the players, but we've gone. No, take half your coaching staff at least with you, and take this, take that, and we're suffering as a result. And make no mistake about it, and Cam can back me up on this. A big reason as well that there's pressure on Tottenham manager Thomas Frank is that Keith Andrews is doing really well with Brentford, and Brentford are coping without all these players, like they're flying, and we're really struggling. And of course, Tottenham's rivals Arsenal are up here, we're down here, and everyone's like putting all these things together. Then the Frank with the Arsenal Cup, and all together it's this massive cycle that just doesn't look good for Thomas Frank. So put it this way, I'll be very surprised if he's in the job come the end of the window. And that's the problem. Do you back Frank if you're not 100% sure as an owner, as a board, as a hierarchy? And Tottenham do it every time. We get to the end of a transfer window, we get rid of the manager, and we're stuck with their players and with different ideas. It drives me absolutely insane. But Cam, can I ask you about Sunderland, because it wasn't their day ultimately, but I think Lewis is spot on. It could have been different. I think Brentford deserved the win and probably deserved the amount they won by in terms of how they played, but Sunderland could have easily scored 1 or 2 goals on another day. That's the point I think Lewis is trying to make. So for them, they just got to go again, not completely back to the drawing board, but regalvanize and regroup, because they are a really good side, and I still think that top half finish is well achievable. Would you agree?
Yeah, I'd agree, to be honest. I think Sunderland I just don't think it was their night, to be honest. I just don't think, it was good enough from them. To be honest, I think they can definitely show better levels from what they've shown this season. Got to give credit to Brentford, though. I think even though I did say Sunderland were going to win this game, I think Brentford away right now, you just don't want to play them away, do you? You don't want to. Yeah, I think Sunderland, they got that result against us last weekend, and now they've lost 3-0 here. But yeah, I think it wasn't good enough from Sunderland, in my opinion. I think, I mean, I looked at when Villa lost 4-1, they bounced back straight away after that with 2 great wins, to be honest. I think that's just what Sunderland need to do, to be honest. I think it's just not their night. I think they just need to bounce back. I don't know who they've got next, but yeah, I just think they need to come back and forget about that result and yeah, bounce back from there.
Okay, good stuff. Thank you. I mean, 2 informed sides coming into this game. I mean, he thought it would be close, of course, the scoreline. Not reflecting that. Lewis, sticking with you. Crystal Palace drew with Aston Villa at home, and it means that Palace haven't lost again because they've lost a few games recently. Who do you think is the better point for? Because, I mean, I know it ended 0-0, but there's enough chances in that game for both teams for it to be 2-2 or 3-3.
Oh, I don't know, Harry. I decided to sit down that night and go through all the games and decide which one to watch, and I chose to watch this one, so I chose well. I don't know really. I think for both sides, it's. I think both sides will take it as a loss. Because Palace haven't had a win in quite a while now, which is very surprising considering the form that they were on at the beginning of the season, and they've had that slip away. And just we were talking about Sunderland there, they shouldn't have that worry to slip away, and unfortunately it's happened to Palace. Fortunately their good start has kept them out of any severe trouble, and obviously the help of West Ham. So if we look at their form, I just think they'll be disappointed. They had loads of chances, of course. This game was just a game of missed chances, so it could have been 4-4, but it was 0-0. Palace, it's a loss for them. They really could have. One goal could have got them underway on form. They could have had a win here. Macclesfield in the Cup, which we'll talk about later on. That could have been 2 wins on the bounce fairly quickly heading into a game against Sunderland, a team who's not been on good form. So it really, this is why people say 1 goal can make a big, big difference. Same with Aston Villa. I think their bounce back, how appalling. They've dropped into 3rd, but you get the point. Is they had that 4-1 loss, then they came back against Nottingham Forest, and they would have loved to have picked up back-to-back wins. But again, they kept Palace, not quiet is the right word to use, but they kept the clean sheet, and they'll both walk away with a disappointing point, I'll say.
That's fair to say, I think. Thank you very much. Cam, I want to ask you in particular about Brennan Johnson, of course, ex-Spurs player. He's played 2 games now, 2 starts. How do you think he got on, and what can he add to this Crystal Palace team? Because they need to start taking chances. This game sums it up. And a load of games they've had recently, they play well often. In most games, Palace score 1 but struggle to get the second and then drop points. Johnson can change that maybe?
Yeah, I think when he came into us, I think he was definitely expected to contribute to the team straight away. Of course, it's minus Sarri at AFCON, and Brennan Johnson's for them, but at this moment in time. But I think Palace fans will be a little bit frustrated that he hasn't brought the numbers back essentially so far in these 2 games. I think it's probably too quick to judge him, of course, obviously. But I think, Palace fans are probably thinking, you're here to score goals. Why aren't you scoring goals? But I think, you need to provide him service. You need to be, you need to get him in that right area. You need to put that ball in the right area. He's going to be there. He's going to score goals. And when you're not getting that service, he's not going to score goals. Simply, I think that's Palace's issue at the moment. I think both teams were probably unfortunate, or feel unfortunate that they couldn't win the game. Palace win this in a fair few games now, so they will not be happy with that at all. But after that game that Villa had after Arsenal, Forest at home, they would have definitely wanted to win this one, considering Palace's form. So I think both teams will be unhappy at the end of this.
Okay, thank you very much. Ollie, you got anything to add to this game with what you thought? I mean, it looks like a ball draw, but the game had more to it than that. But have you got anything to say about it?
I was just looking at the game and looking at Palace's recent form. Actually, I think they probably come away with that looking like they've gained a point there, to be honest. Not based on the stats or anything, because it looked like they played very well and they could have got a goal, and so could Villa, to be fair. But I think looking at their recent form, I think they'd be happier with a draw than a loss, because obviously they've had a couple of poor results where they would have been disappointed. I mean, luckily they haven't conceded that many goals on the looks of it, apart from when they played Leeds a few weeks ago. But I believe they'd probably be okay with that. But it's about scoring goals now for them, because it looks like they aren't scoring many. And I think, yeah, it's just about Mateta putting more away now, getting them to score, which I think will happen. It's just a small blip for them, because they're good enough. For sure. But I know around the Christmas period they played a lot of games though, which have worn them out, and they don't have a big enough squad at all to keep up with that. So I reckon that's probably the reason why. I know Glasner was complaining about the amount of games going on recently, so I think that is probably one of the reasons for their form. So I believe they'd come away with that and go, look, it's a point against Villa, that's good enough.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ollie. I think you're spot on there. And I think for Palace, it's been, well, it feels like the calm before the storm, but the last few days have been a little bit better because, a draw on this, because Aston Villa have been really good this year. Exclude that Arsenal defeat, they've been really good with performances, but also with results. I think, that, in my opinion, they get top 3 minimum or top 4, even if, I think they definitely get Champions League football, put it that way. I think that's at a minimum, and that's a good position for them to be in, considering where they were at the start of the year. But for Palace, they got the news today that they can, extend Sellers Park a little bit. They bought houses, I believe, in the area, so a little bit of an extra stand. Of course, they didn't lose this game, so that's positive for them. And also bringing in Brennan Johnson feels like a big name, and for Palace, maybe a better few days. I don't think it's enough to keep Ollie Glasner there. I don't think it's enough to keep Mark Gay there. I also don't think it's enough to keep Walton there. But for now, I think it's okay for Palace. I think it's about getting to the end of the season, getting to the summer, and I think for Palace they could lose. You mentioned there 3-4 big names, Mateta, of course, as well to add to that. So for Palace are fine for now, but they could really suffer a downfall that we've seen for the likes of Forest next year. But time will tell. With that one, Ollie, I want to stick with you because the next game ended Everton 1, Wolves 1. I mean, firstly on Wolves, different side, aren't they, in 2026? I mean, they started off maybe a little bit slow, but they grew into the game in that second half and even could have won it at the end. A huge save from Jordan Pickford to get Everton a point. Who would have thought you'd been saying that just a few weeks ago?
Yeah, I looked at a little bit of the game and I thought, yeah, Wolves look a lot better. I think it was going to happen eventually because they still do have a quality side. I mean, it's not great, their side, and they've obviously lost a lot of players. They've lost a lot of key men recently, in the summer. But there's still a lot of quality there on paper. And I was expecting them to start picking up points at some point, and it's come now. I mean, Everton don't look amazing, to be honest. I think they've dropped in form a lot, which was to be expected because I don't think they have much quality in their side either. But no, Wolves look a lot better, I thought. They're making chances now, and they're getting goals in, and I think that's what you expect. And obviously, the young lad, for them, he's looking brilliant, I thought. And I think in the summer he might get picked up by a team such as maybe Tottenham, actually, because he looks really good going forward. And he's a centre midfielder, isn't he, or is he a 10? I actually don't know where he plays. But no, Wolves do look a lot better at the minute, and I reckon there's more points to come. I'm actually fearing our game against them in later in January because I don't know what the result's going to be like now.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you. Cam, if I come back to you and focus on Everton, the 2 big talking points would have been the 2 red cards that they faced. So if you can address them both, just a quick reminder, Jack Grealish was dismissed, second yellow card for sarcastically crapping the referee after he won the free kick. I think it's the second time we've seen that, I believe. Can't remember what game it was. I have a feeling that someone at Arsenal was involved. But anyway, I know that a player was yellow carded for something he said for a referee, or second yellow carded, so sent off. But also got Michael Keane straight red card for a hair pull of the Wolves forward. So what do you make of both of these? Everton fans, I'm sure David Moyes, I haven't seen what he said, but I'm sure won't be happy about either of them. And they'll feel, the Toffees, they'll feel it's very harsh both ways. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm sure David Moyes wasn't happy in the changing room afterwards. I think it's definitely a bit of stupidity from Everton for the Keane and Grealish red cards. I think after that result against Brentford, they needed a result here against Wolves, and I think Wolves could have won that game, to be honest. I think it was great individual quality from Matheus Mane, and to answer your question, Ollie, I'm pretty sure he's a winger. I think he can play either side. He's actually quite good. I think I wouldn't mind him here at Tottenham, to be honest. I think he'd be our best winger. But yeah, I think Everton, I think they'll be, I think they'll be annoyed with themselves, because meanwhile Wolves, I mean, they've been quite good, to be honest, in this new year. To be honest, they're on form. They're doing fairly well for how bad they were at the start of the season. With that win over West Ham and obviously the draws against Everton and Manchester United. But yeah, that loss against Brentford, that wasn't good enough, and even here, I think they could have lost. I'm not too sure how they didn't lose, to be honest. Down to 9 men, even if it was late on. But yeah, I can see Everton struggling from here, to be honest.
Okay, thank you very much. Lewis, what did you make of this from Everton? They are a bit of a strange side. Huge result. They get away to Forest and then boom, slump after that bad result. It feels like they're struggling a little bit at home. It's not quite Goodison Park in many ways.
I think Everton will be very, very disappointed with this game. They had loads of chances early doors and they weren't able to convert any of them. And it's games like that where Everton will be slightly worried. You've got to take your chances where you get them, especially a David Moyes side. They got the early lead and they could have doubled their lead, maybe even tripled their lead very, very quickly. They didn't. They didn't convert those chances. Wolves had a lovely finish and they were back in it. And the red cards... It's silly. It's silly stuff. I think they're both deserved of it. As footballers, if you clap the referee, you know that's going to be a second yellow. You already know that. That's a guaranteed second yellow, no matter who you are. And the hair pull is silly. It's silly stuff. There's no need to do it. We've seen the FA have already said. I know they say a lot of things. But it has already been announced that any time a player does pull on someone's hair in a position like that, it will result in a red card. So why do it? Everything's caught on the cameras nowadays. No one suspected anything. They check VAR, bang, he's gone. I think if I was Moyes, I would be very upset at my side. And I'd probably feel a bit hard done by in the moment. But after the game, I reckon he probably would have been more upset at his own players rather than the decisions for the red card.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure when you calm down just a little bit. But Lewis, sticking with you, one question in the chat. I can't believe I'm saying this, but, it's credit to Wolves, really. Jimmy Hotspur says, serious question. Can Wolves somehow stay up unbeaten in 3 games now? I think, it wouldn't be crazy to base that on their form, but it's how far they are behind. And considering you're writing off West Ham, who are in a lot healthier position, over double the points of Wolves, in a lot better position. I'm assuming you think Wolves are down and out, or am I wrong?
I said this to you a few weeks ago, Harry. I said before they played us that they picked up a draw against Man United, was it? They picked up a draw, and I said it wouldn't surprise me if they beat us. They could get some form going, and I said that's what the manager would exactly want. And it has happened. They picked a win up against us, and now they've drawn against Everton. To be honest, Harry, I think at the current trajectory, I reckon Wolves might finish above us. I don't see when we're picking up points. I think we've got the hardest set of fixtures remaining out of everybody in the down below. Maybe from Burnley, Forest, and Wolves. I reckon we've got the hardest fixture bunch. I've got no idea. I don't know if Wolves could stay up. It'd be one of the most. Well, it probably would be the most incredible comeback of all time, but as mentioned by Barney there, I think it is a little bit too late. If they had this maybe 10 games into the season, definitely they could have stayed up, but I think it might be a little bit too late for them. But remember me saying that they could finish above West Ham. That's all I will say.
You'll not be popular, I'm sure, amongst the West Ham fans. You'll not be targeted even more than David Sullivan if you aren't careful. But I think you're right in what you say. And again, it's being honest. Being honest. That's what it's all about. Next game then, Fulham and Chelsea. London derby, I thought was going to be the new manager's first game. It wasn't, of course, watching from the stands already under a lot of pressure and being watched in every way. He celebrates the goal and, had some funny moments, really. I mean, he mocked Pedro Neto at one point and stuff like that, which, stole the headlines, let's just say. But Cam, what do you make of this one? Firstly, on Fulham, I want you to focus on if possible. I think they've looked a lot better in the previous handful of games. I was worried that I didn't think they'd go down, but I was worried they could get dragged into maybe a tiny bit of a fight that they didn't really belong in and could kind of slump 15th, 16th, come the end. But they've really excelled, and it was fine margins that were costing Fulham, but they look a different side now, as of course started a new year, but the end of the year well as well, and they've started just like they ended it.
Yeah, well, at the start of the season, I thought that there was potential that they could have definitely been in and around that kind of bottom half relegation area, maybe. But no, I think for a club like Fulham, I think they're doing quite well at the moment, I mean, I know Brentford, they're fifth right now. I think they're somewhat near the top four, and, we're past Christmas now. But yeah, I think there's definitely clubs like that, like Brentford and Fulham and Sunderland, exceeding expectations this season. I think Fulham done really well to win against Chelsea. I think for Chelsea, though, it's stupidity from Mark Cucurella to get sent off that early, especially against a side like Fulham, considering they're away as well. And as Barney says, of course, I've got some great players, Jimenez, Harry Wilson. I think Harry Wilson's been quality, to be honest. He scored at our ground, scored a great goal, and obviously against Chelsea as well. I think he's in the form of his life, to be honest. And yeah, I think he's really helping Fulham do much better this season, to be honest. And yeah, as Jimmy says, yeah, Chelsea have spent that much money, and they're not where they should be, are they? I mean, I do understand that they are bringing in Liam Rosenior as their new manager, and I guess we'll see how he does. But yeah, great win for Fulham, poor for Chelsea, especially in a derby like this as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Ollie, what did you make of this one? And of course, the guy that stepped in for Chelsea, McFadden, is now going to be the assistant under Chelsea's new manager, Liam Rosenior. So, what did you make of that? And how do you think he's coped across the two games? Of course, if he combined both, he did just get a single point, but seemed to manage the side well. And that's been recognised by the new Chelsea manager.
Yeah, I think he's done quite well, to be fair. Obviously, I'm pretty sure he came from Southampton a couple of years ago, and he came over to Chelsea after that and did the under-21s for a bit. So he's had, a couple of years of experience of that. But I think he's done well. And obviously, yeah, as you say, recognised by Chelsea, and he might be in the coaching staff of Rosenior. But I think from a Chelsea point of view, I think you can see potential there. I think it's it is signs of good things to come. Obviously, I don't think it's representative of either team with the red card. Obviously, Fulham, good performance, to be fair, and in the last 5 games they've been really, really good after a run of quite a few poor games, to be honest. I don't think it was anything for Fulham fans to worry about. I think it was just quite a bit of poor form. But it seems like they're back at it. And I think that'll carry on for a little bit, to be fair, because there's a lot of potential. But I think Marco Silva's teams, they just lack consistency. Especially in the Premier League, they go on a string of good form and then it kind of dips a bit and then it goes up again. But I don't think there's anything to worry about. I think they'll go up higher mid-table again. And obviously for Chelsea, it's just a period of transition. Obviously you have to take the loss. And obviously because Rosenior was watching the game and wasn't managing the game, obviously there's a lot of things to change over the next couple of days for them. So they'll wait and see what happens. I don't think they're going to be particularly upset at the loss because they're playing with 10 men for much of the game, but they still managed to nick a goal. But brilliant winner by Harry Wilson, to be fair. he's a good finisher, to be honest. He has been for Wales as well, and he was for Bournemouth when he was there for one season. But he's delivered for Fulham. Actually, he's been really good value for money for Fulham. I reckon they'd be happy with him. Raul Jimenez has been as well. That was a brilliant signing. I mean, people thought that he wouldn't deliver at that level again, but I think Raul Jimenez has been excellent.
A good point. I think he has been. No, you're right to mention that. Good seeing after, of course, the incident happened, getting back to his, former self, let's just say, in some ways. Not quite there, I don't think, but still showing signs. And linking it to your club, Bournemouth, Ollie, of course, with David Brooks and that awful, what happened, him being diagnosed with cancer. And it's great to see him, come back. And I think now looking a lot better. Would you agree with that? I mean, I'd never thought, I don't know about you, that he'd quite reach the same levels, but I think this season, I haven't watched Bournemouth every game like I'm sure you would have, but Brooks looks really good to me and is now getting a lot of minutes.
Yeah, I don't think he's quite at that level he was.
Right.
I do think I think he's much better than he was. Because you say that actually, when just before he got diagnosed with cancer back in 2021, he did play the start of that season, and you could kind of tell he didn't look fit. And I think he even admitted that in an interview. He said, I'm not getting the same, running speeds, and his tests were low, and there was something going on. And you could tell in games he just didn't look fit. And I remember saying to my dad, I was like, he just doesn't look fit. I don't know what's going on. I don't know whether he's holding an injury, but obviously that came about. And he obviously he was away for a year and a bit, and he came back, and obviously a slow process to get back into fitness. And he went on loan to Southampton. He did well there, and he came back following season. I thought, he looked quite good actually. Um, I don't think he's, as I say, I don't think he's quite the level that he had the potential to be. But he's still a great asset to the club. I think, if I'm being honest, I think it's just his end product that he needs to work on. Otherwise, his on the ball, he is good. He's skillful. He's still really agile. He's still really quick as well. He hasn't lost his legs, considering he had several injuries. He's struggled with his knee injuries. I think he's had leg injuries as well. It's not just obviously the cancer as well. He's had loads of physical issues with his legs and things like that as well. So it's a massive setback for him, but he's still reasonably quick, agile, skillful on the ball. It's just more the end product. But honestly, fair play to him. I don't know how he's. I've put a tweet about him before and just said, if that were me, I don't know how I'd get back to being to where he is. Because fair play, I think a lot of players would be in that position and they wouldn't be playing Premier League football today, or even at all, because there is a point where many footballers would just give up. So honestly, fair play to him, and he's done excellent considering.
Definitely. A little side note there. Shout out to David Brooks. Really good to see, whatever club you support, him back on the football pitch and hopefully enjoying his football again. It looks that way and appears that way. Thank you, Ollie, for your thoughts on that. Before we move on from this game, Lewis, I want to get your general thoughts on this game. I mean, in particular about Chelsea, and there are positives, of course, of Chelsea in it. Liam Delap, scoring, which is something they haven't been able to say enough this year, but he looked good in this game. So, how do you view Chelsea in terms of what they can achieve this year, but also the situation that is here right now for the manager to walk in? Do you think it's the case of it's going to take some time, or do you think you can come in, hit the ground running, and get them European football?
I think the Chelsea board will be expecting the new manager to come in and have an effect almost straight away. His playing style is very similar to Maresca's, so the players won't need too much time to adapt. Obviously, you'll have to give him a little bit of wiggle room just to try and get used to the players. It is a completely different squad, but he does have a very similar playing style. I think, again, it feels like an interim game, similarly to the Man United Burnley game. We'll speak about it in a little bit. It's an interim game. It's a game that it's for through the transition process. The players are not playing the new style. It's just a Premier League game, and the early red card put them in a position where they were pretty much, out of the game. It's difficult to play with 10 men from the beginning. And it's a silly red card. It put them in a silly position. And Harry Wilson, being Harry Wilson this season, just completely took it out of Chelsea's hands. So I think it was one of those, they will be annoyed about the result, but in the bigger picture, it's a transition game.
I think that's fair to say. Thank you. Harry Wilson's on fire this season for Fulham. Good play, I'm sure to have. We talked about FPL earlier. I haven't had him in yet. And Barney, who I know quite well, has been saying all season, had Harry Wilson. I've put it off, but I might have to concede this one that, that might be a wise thing to do. But no, my luck, bring him in, they get injured or, he just not perform. And then I take him back out because I'm quite reactionary with it. And then, boom, perform straight away. It's happened so many times. Different players. It's honestly can't tell you, even with Spurs. But hey ho. And for Fulham, it's a huge result. Of course, being a London derby, and as Barney says there, as a Fulham fan, he says it's only Fulham's 4th win over Chelsea in the Premier League era. So they don't come too often, which makes them even more delicious when they do. City and Brighton then 1-1. City drawing for the 3rd time in a row. I mean, this is just frustrating at this point, for anyone, associated with Manchester City, but they'll be glad to see Semenyo come in the door. I don't think it's going to sort their defensive problems. I mean, is it, Ollie? But it's going to mean they have more attacking firepower. How do you think they got on in this game? They just looked vulnerable every time Brighton went forward.
Yeah, I think they're just a bit out of form at the minute. I think it will come back because City is City, aren't they? At the end of the day, eventually they'll get one win. They'll be in the swing of it again. And I think Brighton are quite good at frustrating the big boys. They seem to have quite good form against some of the bigger teams rather than, but they struggle against some of the smaller teams. Obviously, I think they're one of the teams to actually get a draw against Wolves this season. Because I do think sometimes City do just lack it. Obviously, I watched the Sunderland game as well, and I just thought there's just nothing going for them. There's no drive. They're not having goes. They don't look like they want to create things. There's a lot of selfishness as well. Some players just kind of want to run in and try and get a shot off when they can't. There just seems to be a lack of teamwork in some bits. I think Semenyo will help with that massively. Obviously he's quite a direct player and he likes taking shots. Obviously I'm not sure if Pep Guardiola will hinder that because I know he likes his build-up play and Semenyo is just a shot taker. But I think they will. I think Semenyo will help that because he's good at bringing the ball forward. He's good at getting past an opponent. And I think injuries for them haven't helped at all. I know obviously they've got a couple of injuries in their defence. So that's completely messed their defence up. And to be fair, they haven't been conceding too many goals despite that. So I think they'd be okay with that. However, they're used to scoring a lot more goals than that. And if you're a City fan, you're probably saying, that's not good enough. We're not scoring enough at the moment. But a new signing through the door, fresh start, they'll get going again. Let's be honest, they're City.
That's true. I think you're right to say that. Being reasonable there, Ollie. Thank you, Cam. I mean, who is likely to challenge Arsenal, if anyone? I mean, a lot of people will say that Arsenal's biggest kind of challenger to stop them is themselves. But away from that, do you think it's City out of Aston Villa, Liverpool? I'm sure aren't in it. Do you think City could stick with Arsenal until the end, especially after the start of the window they've had?
Yeah, well, I think the past few years it's been Manchester City entirely, to be honest, stopping them. I think you could throw Aston Villa in the picture if you really want to, but I don't think they have, enough quality for that. I think it's going to be Manchester City or Arsenal, to be honest, this year, as it has been for the past few years. I think Manchester City, they haven't been great there. They haven't been as good as we know that they can be. They definitely have some defensive problems, and I'm sure they're looking at that right now. But I think they have some great quality. They have some great attackers. They have Doku, they have Cherki, they have, of course, goalscorer Haaland, even Bernardo Silva, and they're adding Antoine Semenyo to that, and I think it's actually going to do quite well there. And I think he's someone they honestly need at this moment in time. I think they're going to be really frustrated that they got that point against Brighton, even when Arsenal and Aston Villa failed to capitalise on that as well. yeah, I think City are going to come back. I think City are going to bounce back from this. I mean, they always do. They always have been. And I think they're going to do it again this year.
Okay, thank you very much. Just a comment about Man City. Barney says we talk about inconsistency, and City are definitely there at the present. They've been so good in seasons gone by, so maybe I'm just comparing them not being up to their usual standards. I agree with that. I think it's mainly defensively that there is that issue. Thank you. Lewis, I come to you on Brighton. Big point for them. I mean, talk about strange sides. I think I mentioned that with Everton, if I'm not wrong earlier. I think Brighton could be added to that category where, for the majority of the season, and same with last year, that they're really strong at home and not so much away. But that's kind of flipped on its head a little bit recently. And every time you think Brighton get momentum, they get a big result like this. They then, go on 3 or 4 games where they just don't win. So what is their aim realistically this season? And do you think they deserve this point in this game, firstly?
I think they do deserve this point. It's quite weird to say that, though, because they had 2 chances where they quite simply just gave City the ball. Right in their own box as well. And they were very, very, very
gifts,
lucky.
Absolute gifts. Got to take that.
Absolute gifts, you've got to take that. But the same could be said for Man City. They also gave Brighton that golden chance. Not just Mitoma's goal, we had another chance. And they weren't able to convert it. So it could have been a lot worse for City. We just had that conversation for them. I think Brighton will be happy. Obviously, you get a point against someone who's fighting for the league title. You will take that. Where should they be aiming for? Probably around mid-table to the lower European spots, to say Conference League. They've been knocking on the doors of European football a while since their Europa League campaign. Their goal is to be into Europe. They don't really want to be around the mid-table much longer, and I'm sure their fans don't want to be. The board wants to aspire to have European football, and they're yo-yoing with form. 1 minute, as we've just said, 1 minute they're getting wins off the bounce, back to back to back, and then the next minute they're struggling to pick out a point. No wins in December, which has been a common theme for Hörsler across his 2 seasons so far. But straight into January now, they got a good result against Man City. So I can't exactly remember who they've got as their next game, but they'll be looking to pick up a win in the next one and maybe try ignite some form. The league table is very close. I remember Newcastle were down in 14th and 15th, and I think they're up to 6th now. It goes to show how just a few points can make such much difference in this league.
100%. I mean, it is 2 games in other competitions for City first, but they do have the Manchester Derby next in the Premier League, if I remember correctly. So that is an interesting one. We're going to finish reviewing then game week 21. We've got 3 games to go, and then we give score predictions for the FA Cup games. One, of course, already underway. Burnley and Man United, 4 games. Darren Fletcher in charge of Manchester United on an interim basis with Johnny Evans. Yes, he's still around at United as assistant coach stepping in. And, this is a complete contrast to the way that United play. Over 30 shots from Darren Fletcher's side. I was told in the week that he's an attacking coach. I thought, okay, yeah, fair enough. I did think they'd have that many shots, even being against Burnley. Cam, in the end, who is it a better point for? I know it sounds crazy to say because, usually you think, oh my goodness, it's definitely a better point for Burnley. But at points in the game, of course, they were ahead, as were Man United, to be fair. So who's it the better result for?
Yeah, I definitely feel like Burnley have gotten the most out of that, to be honest. I don't think they performed particularly well, especially at home. But at the end of the day, they got the draw. I think United will be really, really unfortunate that they didn't get the win there, especially with that 30 shots, as you said. I think Darren Fletcher's Man United, I mean, they look quite good. They performed quite well. Sheer Lacey came on as well, youngster, from the academy, and he looked very promising, in my opinion. I think, I don't know who's going to become interim manager now at Manchester United, but
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer?
I mean, who knows, I mean, it could be either him or Michael Carrick. It could be one of them.
Could be either of them. I have to see what they go with.
But I think Burnley, with their struggles this season, I think with Burnley's performances this season, I think they'll be happy they got a point out of that, to be honest, because I think United could have killed that game off, to be honest. I think it was great individual quality from Jadon Anthony for that second goal, for sure. And their first goal was an own goal, and that was their only shot on target, the Jadon Anthony goal, because, obviously the first one came off Aiden Heaven's leg. So, Burnley will be really fortunate they won that. Not clicking for United to not get that result.
Okay, thank you very much. Ollie, Burnley, do you think showing some fight at last? 2 goal line clearances. They battled really hard for that point. I agree with Cam, they weren't perfect, but they showed defensive resilience, teamwork, I think, and kind of a team bonding almost. And it took their goals well in the end. I mean, the first goal, stroke of luck, of course. You need that sometimes when you're down the bottom. But second goal was a beauty from substitute Anthony. So for Burnley, do you think they'll be impressed with that? Maybe they'll look at it and go, we need to win this type of game because the situation we're in. But we take the positives. We'll be class R4 overall.
Yeah, I think they will be. I think they'll be looking to build on that. I don't think it was a great, statistical performance from them. I don't, they didn't take enough shots. But that is Burnley. With Scott Parker, I think I think he is kind of right in what he says, and he doesn't have enough resources to play around with. Obviously, there's only so much Burnley can do with their budget, all considering. So there's only limited options, and they have to play in a way where they don't get many shots. And they came away with it with a draw. I don't think it's the most exciting thing ever to be a Burnley fan and watch that, but when you're getting points on the board, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. And obviously United is showing quality with an interim basis. And, I think they'd be happy with the performance, maybe not the result. But when there's a performance after a manager's got sacked, it's a bit like Chelsea, really. You can be happy with that, I reckon. But it's good to see United, doing what they do best again. I think under Amorim, it probably wasn't gonna work, but no, I think both sides would be pretty happy, one happy with the result and the other happy with the performance. But yeah.
Thank you, Ollie. Appreciate that. And lastly, on this game, I'll come to you, Lewis, on this one. Benjamin Sesko with a brace. I mean, he really needed this, didn't he? He felt he needed that first goal to really kick on, push on, elevate and kickstart his Man United career. And once you get one, they do say, don't they, for strikers, they flow and you get a second. And that's exactly what happened in quick concession.
Yeah, it is. And I find it very interesting. They obviously got rid of Amarin, and Fletcher plays quite a sense of attacking football. It's quite interesting the striker performs when they're actually playing attacking football. Goes to show that maybe he was being played in the wrong system, maybe written off a bit too early. It's early to see, it is against Burnley, so we won't get ahead of ourselves. It's not against, with the utmost respect, a top 6 side. But we'll see, maybe that's what he needed to kick himself off the ground. And it could be he should be the leading striker coming into whoever the next manager is, whether that's Carrick, Solskjaer, etc. And I think, in my opinion, it's similar to the Chelsea game. It's an interim game. It's one to just get over the line, grind through the gears. United have, contrary to the sacking, have actually maintained decent form and are in running for European football this year, unlike last. So that's their goal. Maybe the back end of top 4, maybe Europa League, maybe even Champions League. But they're in there, they're around there. They've got a point. Take it, move on, try get the permanent interim manager to the end of the season.
Absolutely, that'll be the aim for United. And personally, think they'll go for like a Glasner. Oh, I don't think Unai Emery, maybe Glasner, I think in the summer makes sense. I reckon Ollie or Carrick will interim till the end and then Ollie Glasner in the summer. But we'll have to see. Time will tell. Lewis, sticking with you, cracking game in this one. There was, blimey, 7 goals at St James's Park, and it was the 102nd minute. So I was about to turn it off, actually. That Harvey Barnes scored. I mean, definitely goalkeepers got to get better, do better at that, but we will get on to that. Lewis, crazy game. So much I could ask you about. Overall, how do you feel about this? Did Newcastle get the deserved win? I mean, so many twists and turns in the game. And like you said as well, Newcastle up to 6th and the table changes really quick with this result even. Newcastle, boom, straight into that top half and into the European spaces.
Unbelievable game. I mean, I think this will be one of those where, you go on a YouTube video and you see it says top games of the decade. This one will be there. An unbelievable match. I mean, there's so much to pick out of it. I think Newcastle, if you flip the grounds, I don't see Newcastle winning 4-3. They won because it was at St James's. They had that atmosphere behind them. When they got that third, they were roaring to get the winner. It almost seemed destined for someone to have a winner. That game didn't deserve to end as a draw. Leeds fought really, really well, I thought, and it's one of those reasons as to why I do believe, I hate to quickly link it back to West Ham, but it's why I do believe West Ham will go down, because I see other relegation teams who were, tipped to go down for relegation. They've got so much fight about them. I think Leeds will be disappointed. Obviously, they were in a winning position. They could have won the game. But I think the one thing they definitely will take away from it is they had that fighting spirit to get there. On another day, they're going to win that game. They got very unlucky, and had it been at Ellen Road, I almost guarantee they would have won it. But they've got so much fight about them, this Leeds side, and I really do admire it. I think, a lot of people had questions over Daniel Farke. He's definitely got the most out of this Leeds side. He's got them in a place mentally where they are outperforming what they have on paper. And it's so good to see them doing and having, these sort of games and bringing it to the bigger teams. They could certainly, if they just iron out the small mistakes that they're having, they could find themselves in a good position.
Lewis, thank you. Before we move on to the next one, let's go. I want to talk about this for a few minutes because it's a cracker. Cam, I mean, what are your overall thoughts on this crazy game? Of course, our game going on at the same time. So, probably like me, you just saw the highlights or just saw some of the end of it because, of course, the timings were different the last half an hour at least of this game. But do you think Newcastle deserved that win in the end? At one point, looked like Leeds were taking all 3 points. It means just the game twists and turns everywhere, goals everywhere, action everywhere, tackles flying everywhere. And the table was made twists and turns because a lot of games playing. But this game was twisting the tables all night. Let me tell you that literally in so many ways. But what are your overall thoughts at the end of it? Huge win for Newcastle, and Leeds still in a good place even despite the defeat, would you say? Oh, you're on mute, my friend.
So I've done that again. Sorry. I think for Newcastle, though, I think the fact that the game was at St James Park, I think that had a massive influence on the game, to be honest. I think the crowd was 100% behind them. I think for Leeds, just showing that fight, to be honest, and showing that desire to just stay in the league, to be honest, because that's the goal for the first season, isn't it? For a club like Leeds. And as Louis said, I think when you're West Ham and you're not really putting in those performances and, showing that desire in those games to be picking up results, I think, you're kind of almost deciding to go down, aren't you? But yeah, I think Leeds, considering they've went to a difficult away ground, especially for them, I think they've done quite well in that game. I mean, I turned it on with like 20 minutes to go after we'd lost, and I saw 3 goals. So yeah, that just sums it up. But yeah, I think Leeds done well. They're going to be really unfortunate. It's going to be really unfortunate that they got 0 points out of that. They brought nothing back to Ellen Road. But I think they can be somewhat positive with how they've done.
It's fair to say. Okay. Thank you very much. And if we go on to then the final game, not quite as many goals, it's fair to say, or action. Arsenal 0, Liverpool 0. A big talking point, Ollie, if I come to you on this one, will be what happened actually, because of the lack of things to talk about, believe it or not. Something you couldn't say about either of these teams this season so far. But the talking point will be what happened with Gabriel Martinelli. And for context, people haven't seen it. Conor Bradley goes down, and Martinelli clearly thinks he is time wasting. That's the thinking. So he pushed him to the side. But of course, as you now know, it looks really serious from everything you hear and see. And it doesn't look good when you see it from our angle at home. But Martinelli's position maybe is a bit different. But either way, you're just not acceptable, is that?
No, no. To start off, it was a really, really poor game. Honestly, I was watching it and I was thinking, wow, this is going on a little bit. It was really not good at all. The quality just wasn't really good enough between the two sides, surprisingly, actually. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was a red card. Surely you have to give a red card for that. That is what red cards are for things like that. Because I just think that was, he the intent was there to try and get him back on the pitch, considering he was injured, and he obviously and you saw in the replay of how he got injured as well, and it looked very bad. And he's there pushing him and bringing him back up, and because I think he obviously went down on the pitch And I think Martinelli was trying to push him off the pitch so he could get treated off the pitch to get the game restarted again. But it was a proper shove. And I don't know who, someone threw or kicked the ball at Bradley's face as well. And I just thought, it's just, this is a game full of grown men and they're doing this, and I just think it's just really immature, and you don't expect that in a game of football. It's unbelievable watching it. I just couldn't believe it when I was seeing it. I was thinking, really, you just, as a referee, you just instantly send them off. Surely that's unacceptable.
Okay, thank you. And since Gabriel Martinelli has taken to Instagram to apologise directly to Conor Bradley, I don't know if any of you saw Arne Slot's comments after the game, but he was, very, very interesting. Lewis, you're nodding, so I'll come to you. And he come across, I thought, really well, whatever he thought about the incident, kind of going, yeah, of course, it doesn't look good. This is basically what he's saying. He's just saying that like context is important. He clearly didn't know, and he said about how time wasting is an issue generally in football. You get to this point, and players time waste, and this is why we've got this problem where you just naturally assume your opponent's time wasting. So, how do you think he come across, Lewis, and what do you make of the whole incident? The main talking point, really, believe it or not, of the game, surprisingly.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that is the talking point of the game sort of says it all. But I do really believe what Arne Slot said was almost a perfect thing to say. It is very true. It's a game of where all the players are running on adrenaline. You want to try get the ball, especially the way Arsenal play. They don't want to play for a draw. They want to get the ball and they want to go up the field and they want to attack. I don't think that makes it right in any way, shape or form what he did. But I think just it's a thing you do in the moment, you don't think. And obviously he regrets it later on. It's a shame because the extent of the injury is really bad. If in another world he had been faking it and got up 5 seconds later and had a little fight with him, no one would even be questioning it. But it's the fact he does actually have quite a serious injury, and it's very unfortunate. I do think questions need to be raised whether it was a red card or not, because as mentioned, that's what red cards are for. That's the point of them. And I do personally believe that on another day it could have been a red card for sure. But going back to the comments, he even mentioned, Lucas Paqueta, which is why I saw it. He mentioned how Paqueta was heated at the referee. And it's one of those things in the moment afterwards, you think that's ludicrous. Or as a fan, you think that's insane. But it's all about the emotion that you have inside as a player. And I think he summed it up perfectly. You're on mute, Harry.
I'm on there. The click button didn't work. Thank you. Beginner's mistake.
Done the same thing as me, yeah.
Yeah, that's the same thing. There you go. We're honours even on that one. But Cam, I'll ask you, now you can hear me, lastly on this game before we get on to FA Cup score predictions. Away from that incident, because, there was action in the game, not a lot, of course. But I just want to speak generally, if that's okay, about Liverpool. Do you think the aim is top four? I mean, goodness me, how they have fallen. But is top four the realistic aim now for Liverpool?
Yeah, I think it'd be quite shocking if, you looked at the end of last season, you thought, okay, Liverpool aiming for top four from there till now. But I think it's just, top four, I think it's just a realistic aim for them in this current situation. I think just getting Champions League football at Anfield is, very, very important. And, as much as they've fallen off, I think, that's just what they need, to be honest, because no Champions League football can have a big impact on a team as big as Liverpool, to be honest. And, whilst I think, Liverpool, I mean, I would have said a draw is the right result. And I hate to say it, but I think a draw at the Emirates right now is actually an all right result, to be honest. Liverpool, on paper, you could say, we should maybe be winning this game. But, as you say, they're not in the best of positions right now. So, I think a draw's good for them. It's a snooze fest, to be honest. But, I think a draw is the right result. Obviously, Gabriel had that set-piece chance at the end, which, Gabriel Jesus interfered with. I think they'll be really unhappy with that. But at the end of the day, it was a full 90-minute game, and yeah, they failed to win.
Okay, thank you very much. This is a good episode that's going very well, and we've reviewed game week 21. So let's give some score predictions then for the FA Cup. Unfortunately, one game is underway. Wrexham and Forest. At the time of recording, Wrexham are 2-0 up at half time. So I think we've got a little bit of an upper hand on this score prediction, but of course, you don't know what's going to unfold in the second half. So let's just give score predictions then. And of course, if it is your club, give your thoughts as well. That's the way we do this. And that's fair, and we can get through it as well and discuss and cover a lot at the same time. Cam, score prediction in the second half. Wrexham 2-0 up, so we know that they're going to have to score at least 2. But what do you reckon?
You know what? Yeah, I think there's going to be a madness second half. I'm going 3-2 Wrexham though. I think they're going to go through, but I think there's going to be 3 more goals to the second half. I think Forest have that fighting power to come back, but Wrexham at home, I think they're going to do it.
Okay, thank you very much, Lewis. What do you reckon? Score prediction?
2-1. I just saw that.
Mate, was it 2-1 now?
Yeah, it's 2-1.
Okay. Oh,
Changes it all now, doesn't it?
I was going to
change my prediction, please.
Stopping it on 2-0.
the benefits of live podcast when the game's going on. Things can change quick.
Do you know what? I'll just for the sake of it, for the fun, I'll go 3-2 Forest.
Oh,
come back.
Drama.
I'll
be definitely watching this after that then. Love it. Ollie, I mean, the benefit for you now is you now know it's 2-1. So what's your score prediction?
I'll go 2-2. Wrexham to go through penalties. Because it's straight to pens now, isn't it, in the FA Cup?
Yeah, I think so.
Ooh, I don't know.
Yeah.
A lot of people have been saying extra time, but it probably is.
I thought that was just the League Cup, but unless there's a new rule or something, then maybe.
I don't think there is replays anymore, is there?
3-2 Wrexham.
No replays.
3-2.
No replays. Yeah, I'll go with that. I thought it was for the FA Cup because they've changed it all now. Because hence why the a lot of non-league teams are unhappy that they scrap replays because obviously it benefits them if they get a home draw, which is unfortunate.
Indeed, 100%. I mean, that comes back to the whole thing, doesn't it? Yeah, player welfare, minutes, not minutes, and they're banging the drum for player welfare. But don't worry, we'll give you an extra, 5-10 games in Europe. It's it makes total sense, doesn't it? But thank you all for your score predictions on that one. I think you can tell I can feel about that. But Wolves and Shrewsbury Town, then this is, one that probably won't be watched by many unless you are a Wolves or Shrewsbury Town supporter. Cam, score prediction, kick us off.
I'm going to go simple. I'm going to go 2-0 Wolves. I think they're going to be a stronger side at home. Nothing much. 2-0 Wolves.
Okay, thank you. Jimmy Hotspurs let us know it is 2-1 Wrexham. Thank you. Barney saying 3-2 Wrexham thinks it finished. Fair enough. Jimmy's confirmed though, just checked, said it does go straight to penalties. So you're right on that one. And Jimmy's saying 3-1 Wolves. Okay. Thank you very much, Cam, for kicking us off. Ollie, what do you reckon?
2-1 Wolves.
You're also back in Wolves. Thank you.
Yeah.
No surprise. Yeah, Wolves has been a great start to 2026. Can they keep this going is the question.
I think if they didn't lose, I would have. If they weren't winning in 2026, I'd back Shrewsbury, but they've got to keep on the momentum, haven't they? Surely,
absolutely. New year, new Wolves. I wish, I could say the same about my club, Tottenham. I'm sure Lewis can echo that with West Ham. If I got worse, retracted with a new year, with literally, in the January window, the aim is to strengthen, and we've gone backwards. What an achievement. Lewis, on that note, what do you think the score will be in this game?
I've gone with a Wolves win, 3-1 Wolves.
Okay, good stuff. Sticking with you then, Lewis, Everton and Sunderland, an all Premier League clash, not the only one.
Everton Sunderland, I've gone with a 2-0 win to Sunderland.
Ooh, okay. So another defeat for Everton at home. They're not making that, the fortress that they would have hoped it had been. It's always going to be difficult to replace Goodison Park, of course, still standing, but for the Everton women's team. Thank you very much. Ollie, score prediction for this game. Which Premier League club is going to go through to round 4 of the Emirates FA Cup?
2-1 Everton.
Oh, okay. So you're going the opposite way. You're back in Everton at home. Back-to-back defeats for Sunderland then in all competitions. Thank you. And Cam, your first to go last time. Your last this time. What do you reckon?
I'm going 1-1 in normal time. I'm going to go with Sunderland to win on penalties.
Okay. Interesting. Jimmy Hotspur says 1-1. He's going to go for Barney goes 2-1. Sunderland, no one back in Everton at home in the comments, but on the panel is different. Macclesfield then against Crystal Palace. Cam, any upset here? Score prediction?
I'm feeling the upset, non-league team, I mean, Tamworth against Tottenham, they almost done it. Brought us to extra time. I mean, it would have been penalties if that rule was implemented last year. I do want to be realistic though. I'm going to go 2-0 Palace, I think. Not by too many goals, but I think they're going to get the job done.
Okay, thank you very much. What do you reckon, Ollie, for this one score prediction? You back in the Premier League side away from home?
Yeah, 3-0 Palace.
3-0 Palace, fair enough. 2-0 Palace in the comments from Jimmy Hotspur. Lewis, you also going to complete the treble on the panel and go with a Palace win?
I am. I'm going to go with I've got them all written down. Going to go with a 4-1 Palace.
Okay, thank you. Got a 2-0 Palace and a 2-1 Palace as well. So 2-0 and 2-1 in the comments. Thank you all back in Palace there. I mean, I think I know which what is going to be the case for this one, unless Pep sends out the kids, because Man City are at home at the Etihad to Exeter City. Ollie, I want to kick it off with you this time. What is your score prediction for this one?
3-1 City.
Okay, I think that's fair. I think Exeter City will not want to be humiliated. Anything other than that, I'm sure they will take and move on. Thank you. Lewis?
3-0 City.
3-0 City. Okay. Cam?
I'm going 4-1 City.
4-1, yeah, all back in City to win by at least 2 goals. Thank you. Sheffield Wednesday then against Brentford. I mean, Sheffield Wednesday have been awful this year, but, usually you'd think an upset maybe when you have a championship side at home to a Premier League club, but this game and the form of both sides, suggests otherwise. Cam, kick us off with your score prediction. This one may be a little bit harder to tell in a way.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about this one, but in my opinion, I'm going to go 3-1 to Brentford this one.
Okay, for the previous game, we've got 4-0 City and 3-0 City in the comments, and Jimmy Hotspur with this game saying 2-0 Brentford. Okay, thank you. Ollie?
Yeah, I'm back in 2-0 Brentford as well.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking that Brentford will edge it by a goal or 2. Lewis, score prediction, my friend.
Yeah, I'm going to finish off the trilogy of Brentford wins. I'm going to go with a 1-0 Brentford. I think it'll be a very close one.
Okay, good stuff. Thank you very much. Sticking with you, Lewis, Fulham and Middlesbrough.
Fulham, Middlesbrough, I think it's going to be... It's tough. I've got it written down. I can't find it. I think it's going to be 1-1 and Fulham will go through on penalties.
Love that. Again, a victim of being live on air. Thank you very much for that one. Oh, no, I mustn't skip that too. It went too quickly, that one. I meant to move it to the side. So we'll stick with that game. Don't worry. Sorry, Fulham and Middlesbrough fans. We will not skip past that quickly. Ollie, your score prediction?
I think it'll be 2-1 to Middlesbrough. I'm seeing it.
Okay. I can see this being an upset. Do you know, I reckon there'll be 3, maybe 4 at a push upsets of some kind. I think some will be small. Some could be, championship against the Premier League or just a lower Premier League against a higher Premier League. But I think there'll be a few upsets, and this tells me it could be a big one. I don't think we have a big one. I don't think we get a non-league beat a Premier League or a League 2 beat a Premier League, but you might get a championship beat a Premier League, because Premier League, lots of games at the moment. You've got to rest players, particularly those in European competitions. Cam, before we move on to the next game, score prediction?
I'm going with an upset here. I'm going 2-2, and I think Middlesbrough are going to win the game on penalties.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Jimmy says 1-1, weakened team, Fulham. Jimmy, let us know in the comments below who's going to win on penalties. Same with you, Barney. You've both gone 1-1, but you haven't said who's going to win on penalties. That's interesting. So keen to get your thoughts, which way you think it's going to go in the all-important and cruel, but also really kind the other way, penalty shootout. Burnley then against Millwall. Okay. Cam, what do you reckon? Score prediction?
It's a bit of a weird one, this, but I'm going to go 2-1 Burnley. I think Premier League side are going to win this one.
Yeah, it does feel like a weird one as well. I agree with you. Ollie?
Yeah, I back Burnley to win 3-1. 3-1.
Okay. Lewis, you also back in?
Yeah, I'm with Cam on this one. 2-1. 2-1 Burnley.
Okay, good stuff. Thank you very much. Newcastle and Bournemouth is the all Premier League clash. Another one that we've got. I think there's 2. There might be one more. I think this is there's 3. That's it. There is 3. It's got Tottenham and Villa to come. Lewis, I'll kick you. Oh, no, I won't kick it. I'll go to you, Ollie, first as the Bournemouth fan. Give us your thoughts as well as score prediction.
Newcastle are quite good. in the cups. To be honest, they usually do actually. I mean, it's quite ironic because Eddie Howe never cared about the cup competitions for Bournemouth. Really, they got through. They got through. That was a bonus, and that's it. Really. Um, so Andoni doesn't really do much about the cups either. In fairness, he's a bit the same, and I reckon we'll probably play a bit of a weakened team. I think Newcastle will probably be looking to go through. I think they'll win 3-1.
Appreciate your honesty. Thank you very much. Of course, the focus has been on the league campaign, as you said there. Lewis,
Yeah,
we'll come to you now. Score prediction.
Yeah, I've gone with a 3-1 to Newcastle as well.
Okay, and the score update in the game, Wrexham, another goal, 3-1 lead. So it looks like they will be going through. First upset has begun in the FA Cup in the first game. I mean, true FA Cup round 3 style. Next game then, oh dear, I'm there tomorrow. Oh, what am I doing to myself? Tottenham and Aston Villa. Cam, as a Spurs fan, I will start with you. Can Tottenham find a way? Please give your thoughts as well as your score prediction.
You know what? Yeah, I'm not excited for this one at all. You know, Villa. I mean, even though they weren't amazing against Crystal Palace, I think we've made teams look amazing and we give teams points. I know this isn't a league game, but I'm backing Villa to go through. I'm sorry. I hate to be negative, but we haven't been great recently. I'm going 3-1 Villa. I'm going for a strong Villa win.
I think we see wholesale changes from Aston Villa. I don't think we can as much with a few players out, and the way we've been playing, it'd be too risky to make wholesale changes because some of the kids would have to be needed. But can you see Tottenham losing like really badly? Say we lose by 2. Can you see us losing by 3 or 4 goals? Because that'd be really uncomfortable, wouldn't it, tomorrow if that is the case?
I wouldn't see it going above 3 goals. No, I think it's the most we're going to concede is probably 3, to be honest. I can see us definitely getting a goal, but winning the game, going through. I mean, I know we're at home, but even at home, we've not been great this season. So, yeah, I'm going to go 3-1 Villa, to be honest. They've been quite good this season as well.
Jimmy Hotspur, the Spurs fan in the YouTube chat listening live, who's commenting. Thank you to him. He says 2-0 to Aston Villa. Jimmy's now becoming a regular in the chat, so big up, Jimmy. We really do appreciate you here, along with Barney and loads of others that got involved in the comments. If you're listening as well, and please do get involved. We want to hear from you, whatever club you support. I mean that. Barney says 2 on Tottenham. Oh, he's backing them. 3-2 Wrexham. Forest got a goal back. Do you know what? We'll keep going, to be honest with you, because this game is, really interesting. Forest still in it, and I just said that it looks like they're going to have the first upset. Maybe that.
3-2. No more goals, though. No more goals, please. No more goals.
Podcast host curse rather than commentator's curse, I think, on that one. Lewis, correctly you saying that. What's your score prediction in this game? Of course, you're talking about your London rivals in Tottenham.
I think for this one, I'm going to put logic out the window. I reckon Spurs are going to win 2-1. Just seems the type of thing to happen at the moment. Everyone doesn't know about Frank, and it would just be one of those random results that maybe might happen. So I've just written down 2-1 Spurs.
Thank you. I'd love that. That'd be fantastic.
Mate, I'll take that any day.
Yeah, just get rid of some of the toxicity we're seeing at the moment. I can't cope with the players and the manager being booed and more fights than that. I mean, we do not want that at all. We want it to be happy. He's just got over the Christmas period. But thank you to another Mr. Simpleton. He says 4-1 Aston Villa. I think he's a Spurs fan. Correct me if I'm wrong, my friend, but he said 4-1 Villa and says sorry. No, don't be sorry. It's honesty that honesty is always the best policy. I believe that. Ollie, what is your score prediction in this game for the other third Premier League clash?
3-2 to Tottenham, I think.
Oh,
I don't know how we're scoring 3 goals, but fair enough.
I can see it. It's magic of the cup, my friends.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
More than magic, I think. Look,
Miracle of the cup.
Yeah. Goodness me, we need quite a lot to change. I'm going to throw this out here. Again, I don't have to enforce my opinion too much. I think this is going to be an upset, and I'm quite confident of this. Charlton at home to Chelsea. Not, of course, for certain, but I think this is one that, because of Chelsea, a new manager, etc., and trying to settle in, I think Charlton will be really up for this. Huge game for them, of course. Cam, what do you reckon? Score prediction? Can you see an upset, or do you disagree with me?
No, I agree with you, to be honest. Whether I think Charlton are going to do it, I'm not sure, but I'm not going to go for a comfortable Chelsea win. I'm going to go 1-1, but I think Chelsea are going to win on penalties.
That's fair enough. Chelsea probably, they'll find a way. Got 2-0 Chelsea from Jimmy Hotspur. Okay, Ollie, what do you reckon?
I reckon it's going to be 4-2 to Chelsea.
Oh, we're going for a high scoring game, Sean, to have an impact in the final third, but they won't be happy, I'm sure, to concede 4 goals, but maybe realistic against the Premier League side. Thank you, Ollie, for that. Lewis, what do you reckon in this game? Are you back in the Premier League side? It could be difficult on paper, but they've definitely got the quality to beat Charlton Athletic.
Yeah, I'm going 2-0 Chelsea as well.
Okay. Yeah, I'm alone on that one. We'll have to see what happens. Derby County then against Leeds United. This could be interesting, to be honest with you. I think Derby do better than maybe people give them credit for. Ollie, start with you. Score prediction.
2-2 Leeds to win on penalties.
Okay, so you're going for Premier League outfit, but doing it the hard way. Leeds, of course, want to play as little minutes and will not want to go through penalties, but going through is what matters. Ollie, thank you. Lewis?
I think I'm going to go with an upset here. I did just give Leeds credit, but I think Leeds are going to lose 2-1.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, they take that. They can still, be solid in the Premier League and drag themselves away from any situation down the bottom, which they are doing, as you mentioned several times tonight, and rightly so. Cam, score prediction?
I'd expect Leeds to rotate their team after the game against Newcastle. I'm going to go scrappy 1-0 win. I think they go through. Yeah. 1-0.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Guys, for the rest of the games now, not many to go. Get your score predictions in the comments below. I'll read out every single score prediction that you've heard that from me there first. That's a promise and commitment to you. Jimmy says 1-1 Leeds on penalties. Barney says, having watched Derby a lot, of course, with his partner supporting Derby, he says a lot. I'm going for an upset 2-1 Derby. Fair enough. I think it has a 2-1 either way written all over it, to be honest with you. Portsmouth and Arsenal, I mean, I'd like this to be an upset, but realistically, it's going to take a lot. Lewis, can I get your score prediction firstly?
I think a lot of the games are going to be close, but I don't think this one will be. I'm going to go 5-1 Arsenal.
I think you said to be close and Arsenal edge it, but you should, took me by surprise there, even as well as I know you in the short period of time you've been on here, but that took me by surprise. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Ollie, what do you reckon?
3-0 to Arsenal.
Okay, well, do you know what? I thought this would be tight, but okay, you're thinking otherwise. Cam, what do you reckon? I mean, bias aside, Spurs hat off, Spurs tinted glasses off.
I wish, but I think there's only one answer here. I'm going to one-up Ollie a little bit. I'm going to go 4-0 Arsenal, unfortunately.
Okay. I had in my head 3-1 Arsenal, but I think it'll be 1-1 in the 80th minute. I just think Portsmouth will collapse towards the end. That's how I view it, and it will look like Arsenal cruised. But I think in the end, that would be the case. Lewis, come to you first. West Ham and Queen's Park Rangers, a little London derby in there. Can I get your thoughts and score prediction? As Nuno said his press conference, surely you've got to win this one.
I don't know.
Oh no!
When it rains, when it rains, it pours.
Oh dear.
I just think with everything going on at the club in the moment, we seem so deflated in everything, and I actually think we would have had a better chance away. It's at home. It's not going to be a sellout. Midweek against Nottingham Forest, we got 32,000 out of 65. Got about maybe just over half. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And I think, this whole debate going on within the West Ham fan base at the moment of do we even have a Premier League level squad? Well, we're going to find out against the Championship side. And honestly, given everything that's going on, I've got QPR to win 2-0. I always try to predict us to win games, but I can't on this one. I can't see it. I can't.
When was the last time you predicted West Ham to win out of interest?
Well, I come on here. I come on here every week and try to predict us to win or draw and be positive. I can't do it this week. Maybe in the Premier League I'll return back to my hopeful self. But after the result to Wolves, I don't know how any West Ham fan can sit there and comfortably say we'll beat QPR.
Nuno thought otherwise. Nuno was like, "We can win this. We're going to win this game," was his words, which is interesting.
He said that against Forest as well.
He did, but if you're QPR, manager, he didn't just say we can win this game. He said we're going to win this game. So, that's me. I'm QPR manager. I play it in the dressing room. Look, Nuno and West Ham think it's done already. Come on, boys, let's prove them wrong. Jimmy Hotspur says 1-1 QPR on penalties. Agreeing there in terms of what you're saying with QPR getting through. Barney there, on the other hand, back in the Premier League outfit, going 2-1 to the Hammers. Cam, what do you reckon? I mean, I know as a Spurs fan, you want to see QPR win this game. But what do you actually think will happen?
Yeah, I think this is an interesting one, to be fair. I think QPR in the Championship, they haven't been doing too great, but they've been very inconsistent. Yeah, I think we're definitely going to see how West Ham do and see if their team really is Premier League level. Obviously, my Tottenham hat's on for this one. Just West Ham, they just haven't been great, they just haven't been. And they really need a win, but I don't think they're going to get it here. I think it's going to go similar to that game against Forest in the week. I think West Ham are going to go score first and then concede 2 more. I'm going to go 2-1 QPR.
Okay, thank you very much. Do appreciate that. What do you reckon then, Ollie?
I don't know. This is a really difficult one. Because, as Cam says, they either go and win to get back into their momentum, or they just don't. And I don't think they will either. I think they'll lose 3-1 to QPR.
Oh, when it rains, it pours. Absolutely agree with the same with Lewis on that one. So, Alder, there's an extra game in there. There's actually, I forgot about this one. There was another Premier League clash. That's the one I was looking for. Fourth one. Quite a few for the third round. I know, of course, a lot of teams in it, but usually it's just one or two. Man United and Brighton. Okay. At the moment, Darren Fletcher's in charge for this one at the time of recording live. Cam, score prediction?
For this one, I'm not going for the favourites. I'm going to go for the away team. I'm going to go 2-1 to Brighton, Old Trafford.
Okay, 2-1 Brighton. Ollie?
It's quite difficult again. Another difficult one, obviously, with interim. But I reckon it'll be 2-0 to Man United.
Okay, thank you. Lewis?
With the interim, I'm going to go 1-1 and Brighton go through on penalties.
Oh, majority back in Brighton there. Okay, thank you very much. Jimmy Hotspur says Wrexham game is fantastic. 84th minute. City fan in here. EPOS big up. He says hello, dudes. Good to see you in here. Got your thoughts in the comments below on Man City at the moment. Please do me a favour and challenge Arsenal to the title. But all jokes and banter aside, please let us know how you're feeling right now as a City fan. Sign Semenya and how you feel. 2-1 Brighton. Jimmy Hotspur goes and 1-1 Barney goes in this game with Brighton to progress via the penalty shootout. So the majority of you, including viewers, listeners, those in the comments listening live on YouTube and on the panel, back in Brighton Hove Albion. Fabian Hertz aside to get through to round 4. Liverpool and Barnsley 2 and Liverpool, one of the easier, no disrespect to Barnsley. They're not bad side at all, but Liverpool will be fairly happy, or would have been fairly happy when this draw come out. Cam, for this final game, give us your score prediction.
Yeah, I think there's only one way this game's going at home. I think Liverpool are going to win 2-0.
2-0. Thank you very much. Lewis?
Gone with the same. 2-0 Liverpool.
Okay, both of you going with clean sheets as well for Liverpool. Ollie, what do you reckon? Do you agree?
3-1, I'd say. 3-1 Liverpool.
No clean sheet then?
No, I don't think so. They'll concede a dodgy one.
Yeah, I think it's more than likely. We'll go through some comments to end. We've got here a comment. EPO says, how mad Man City now. Man City even want to put his main team against Exeter City because so unlucky with horrible finishing. Fair enough. Yeah, we need to be more clinical. Semenya coming in could improve that. I would like to know your thoughts as well on City defensively before we end. But thank you, EPOS, for your thoughts. Please do come back for the next Premier League podcast if you want to hop on as well. A reminder, anyone that wants to come on, drop me an email, scarfharry323@gmail.com. Drop me a message on any social media at Harry Scarfe22. You're more than welcome on the podcast. Or if you just want to have your say, whatever you'd prefer to do, you're more than welcome here. Jimmy going 5-0 to Liverpool. I was thinking we'd see a score like that. And Barney saying 3 Liverpool. Bit more reserved. But I think that wraps us up for the Scarfey Talks Premier League podcast. Have any of you got any final comments before I go round and see where you can find you on social media? No, Tetsu, no worries. Thank you to all of you. Firstly, Cam, thank you very much for coming on. Difficult times as right now as a Spurs fan, I can't relate. Where can people follow you on social media and talk to people a little bit about you? What do you do on social media?
Yeah, not a great time to be a Spurs fan, but yeah, I'm a Spurs supporter. You can find me there, THFC_Cam. Yeah, I pretty much just tweet about my club, to be honest, about how awful we are right now. But yeah, you'll follow me on there. You can drop me a message, follow me if you like. Yeah, I'll probably follow you back. And yeah, I'll be tweeting not just about Spurs, but about football overall.
Great stuff, Cam. I'm sure you have a lot to post about, my friend. That's all I'll say at the moment. But, thank you. You've recently become a regular both of this Scarfey Talks Premier League podcast and over on the main podcast, the Scarfey Spurs Talk podcast, both, of course, 2 episodes a week. So good to have you on a regular basis going into a new year, and it calls strengthening some of the guests I'm having on. So you're a very key part of that. Thank you very, very much. I enjoy having you on. Lewis, of course, you are also, as you know, regular here. Very lucky to have you as a regular on the Scarfey Talks Premier League podcast. Difficult times as well, I'm sure, as a West Ham fan. So again, appreciate your honesty through all of this, and trying to look at the positives, which is always difficult, while also being honest. But where can people follow you across social media? Talk to people a little bit about what you do as well on the socials.
Yeah, more on the right in front for me. On the website westhamfans.org, and social media will be maybe coming more soon. Something I'll be focusing on this year. You say tough times to Cam about Spurs. You should try supporting West Ham from Prague to Preston within 3 years. I mean, it says it all, doesn't it?
Prague to Preston.
But yeah, I won't be able to talk about my club next year on this podcast. So,
that hurts.
I reckon we make an exception. We have to make an exception, surely.
Maybe.
It'll
Not usually for West Ham fans, but we'll see.
But I have got a question for you though, Louis. I've got a question. Oh, Lewis, sorry.
Yeah.
Do you think when you go down, because I think you are down now, to be honest, do you think you're coming straight back up, or do you think it's going to be, some tough times in the Championship?
The thing is, I've said this to many people. I've given my verdict on this, and a lot of people will call me overreactionary. But I think there's a genuine possibility we go down twice. Genuinely, I think some people might think that's ridiculous to say, but the reason why is when we go down, we're going to lose everyone. We've already confirmed we're going to sell Bowen, Paqueta, and Todibo if we go down, so that's already without a question. We can't afford their wages, and we won't have a squad. We're going to have to invest it in. And given the last 4 years or 5 years, I don't trust the investment from the board because every time they do invest, they invest wrong. So I think it's exactly this. We're in the same situation what happened to Sunderland all those years that they went down. They went down, bad ownership, bad investment, bad ground, bad squad, sold off, got cherry picked. We'll be in the same position. So some people say, are we even going to come back up? I think we'd be lucky to not get relegated twice in a row.
It's bold. Cam, thank you for your little question there, and thank you, Lewis, for the answer. Lewis, of course, you haven't got your social media handle there, so if you know it, if you can read it out and tell people where they can follow you.
Yeah, it's Louis Van on Twitter with 3 N's at the end, LOUISVANN. But I'm potentially having a proper one soon, but I have to see.
Good stuff. Good luck with that. If I can help at all, just let me know. But I wish you all the best with that. You'll be fantastic. Thank you very, very much. Ollie, thank you very much. It's been a little while before having you on. Of course, we collaborated when Bournemouth and Tottenham played originally in the reverse fixture at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So, it'd be good to do something again soon when the next teams play, which should be, of course, next season. But I'd love you back on the Scarfey Talks Premier League podcast. So thank you for your time. A longer one, of course, than expected. Where can people follow you as well, and remind people about the fan page that you run superbly?
Yeah, so my handle is in the black there, Simply AFCB. I've been running it since when is it now? October 2024. So what are we? 2026 now. So about a year and a half now. And I just talk. I talk mostly about Bournemouth, but sometimes I do talk about the opposition as well. So it's for anyone to follow. And I always love having a chat about anything football, just like I have today, to be fair. But yeah, make my debut on the Premier League podcast as I did the Tottenham preview, and I've it's been great. So hopefully I'll become more of a regular soon, because I'd like that whenever I'm free. So yeah, looking forward to the future. Hopefully I can do a couple more.
I'd love that. Absolutely welcome anytime. You know that. Thank you very much. Good to eventually get you on this Premier League podcast. It just brought back as well this season, not from the start originally due to some technical issues, but it is now back, and I think better than ever, with fantastic guests as well and amazing people watching and listening. So read out a quick couple of comments before we do end. SPO's big up. First time seeing you in here. So if you haven't already, please subscribe, and I'd love to see you back. Appreciate your input. He says Man City 5, Exeter City 0. That's his prediction. He says not be surprised if we see Semenya in this game against Exeter City tomorrow. Well, Semenya and Man City need training matches before big matches after Exeter City. Yeah, I think it's agree. Jimmy Hotspur says thank you guys. No, thank you for your incredible support, and big up as well to my panel. Barney says, great show, lads. Big up to the chat and good up to you all, your teams in the cup. Everyone follow Harry's brilliant podcast. That's very kind. This is fantastic work, mate. Can't wait to get back on the podcast. Well, we can't wait to have you back. Let me tell you that. 3-3 now in the Wrexham game. So we'll let all of you see what looks like it's going to be penalty shootout at this point. I will stop waffling, I promise. EPOS says Arsenal plays so many dirty and so annoying Premier League teams with his bus games crafted by Mr. Mikel Arteta. I love that. He said, dudes, what's your opinion? What a team to win the Premier League, Man City or Arsenal? I think we're all in agreement that it will probably be Arsenal. Does anyone disagree before we wrap up? Do you reckon? Oh, okay. Ollie's not sure. 50-50.
Yeah, I'm not too sure, to be fair, because obviously we know the history of Arsenal and their bottle game. And obviously City will be chasing them for the rest of the season. Let's make that clear. A couple of draws, but they'll get back into it. And Arsenal will drop points. That's a given. They've dropped points against Liverpool, to be honest, where they probably should have won. And I think they will drop more points, and City will gain points on them. But they've just got to keep consistent, and obviously, I think Arsenal are more consistent this season. I think they probably will end up winning the Premier League, but I think it will be a closer one than people think.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you to all of you for coming on, and apologies to keep you for so long, but I honestly thought that was a good one with lots to discuss, hence why we let it go for longer. Thank you to everyone that watches and has watched and has listened and has got involved. Always appreciated. And the whole idea behind me doing this is I just think, it's often top six dominated when it comes to media with Premier League discussion. Of course, I'm a fan of a top six club. I think it's very important to get fans on from other clubs that don't get the conversation, and, very important, of course, talking about other FA Cup teams as well that play these Premier League clubs, equally important. They get even less money, even less recognition, even less time. And I think we should be able to come together in football in general as fans of different clubs and, try and find a middle ground and have a reasonable conversation. You're never going to agree on anything, but I do not believe that, fighting in stadiums in derbies is the right way to go about it. You can have a sensible conversation. It's the aim behind this. I'm going to let people go penalty. Okay, I thought he was going to say penalty to Wrexham. That would have been really interesting, but it's gone to penalties in that game. So I'm going to jump and let you all, if you want to, watch that. Thank you very much. Please come back. That's enough of me waffling for now. Thank you so much to everyone for the continued support. Thank you to my panel. Thank you to the guests, and have a good evening.
Came along just like a song.